Beneath the warm Grecian sun, on the ancient island of Crete, there once stood a palace so vast and intricate that its memory has echoed through the ages. This was the palace of Knossos, home to the legendary King Minos, and within its stone walls, it was said, lay a labyrinth, a maze of winding corridors and hidden chambers built to hold a creature of myth, the Minotaur, half man, half bull. But the labyrinth itself, the true labyrinth, has long since been lost to time, its secrets buried beneath centuries of earth and legend. Imagine, if you will, a time when Crete was the center of a great maritime empire. King Minos, wise and powerful, ruled from his grand palace. The story goes that the god Poseidon sent a beautiful white bull from the sea, meant to be sacrificed. But Minos, charmed by the creature, kept it for himself. In his anger, Poseidon caused Queen Pasiphae to fall in love with the bull. From this unnatural union was born the Minotaur, a fearsome being with the body of a man and the head of a bull. King Minos, ashamed and terrified, ordered the master craftsman Daedalus to construct a prison so complex that no one could ever find their way out. And so, the labyrinth was built. Daedalus, a genius inventor and architect, designed the labyrinth with countless twisting paths, dead ends, and identical chambers. It was a masterpiece of confusion, a place where even the builder himself might become lost. The Minotaur was placed at its center, and every year, or every 9 years, depending on the telling, the city of Athens was forced to send 7 young men and 7 young women as tribute. They were led into the labyrinth, and none ever returned. But then came the hero Theseus, Prince of Athens. He volunteered to be one of the tributes, determined to slay the Minotaur and end the suffering. Upon arriving in Crete, he caught the eye of King Minos' daughter, Ariadne. She fell in love with him, and wanting to help, she sought out Daedalus. The inventor gave her a simple but brilliant gift, a ball of thread. Ariadne gave it to Theseus, instructing him to tie one end at the entrance and unravel it as he ventured deep into the labyrinth. That way, after facing the beast, he could follow the thread back to the light. Theseus entered the labyrinth. The walls were tall and smooth, the air cool and still. He walked slowly, the thread unwinding behind him, his footsteps echoing in the silence. In the deepest chamber he found the Minotaur. They fought, and with his strength and courage, Theseus defeated the creature. Then, following the thread, step by step, he retraced his path back through the maze. He emerged into the daylight, Ariadne waiting, and together they fled Crete. The labyrinth after that fell into disuse. The palace of Knossos was eventually abandoned, and the great civilization of the Minoans faded. Earthquakes, fires, and time itself buried the labyrinth. When archaeologists began excavating Knossos in the early 20th century, they uncovered a vast palace complex with hundreds of rooms, connected by corridors and staircases. It was not a single maze, but its layout was so complex that many believed this must have been the inspiration for the myth. Yet no clear evidence of a labyrinth, no single dedicated structure was ever found. The true labyrinth of King Minos remains lost, perhaps hidden deeper beneath the island, or perhaps it was never a physical place at all. Some say it was a metaphor for the journey of the soul or a map of the stars. Today, as you drift towards sleep, you can picture the ancient stones of Knossos, warm in the sun, the scent of time and sea salt in the air. The labyrinth is a memory now, a story whispered through the ages. And like Theseus, you can follow a gentle thread of calm thoughts, winding through your mind until you reach the peaceful center of your own quiet dream. Imagine, if you will, a city frozen in time, a place where the sun still warms the stones of ancient streets and the whispers of a forgotten life echo through empty houses. This is Pompeii, a Roman town buried beneath ash and pumice for nearly 2,000 years, and yet its walls still speak. When you walk through the gates of Pompeii today, the first thing you notice is the quiet. It is not the silence of death, but the gentle hush of a story waiting to be told. The cobblestones, worn smooth by countless feet, glisten in the soft Italian light, and the air carries a faint scent of dust and wildflowers. But listen closely, and you might hear the whispers. These whispers come from the walls themselves, The walls of Pompeii are not just stone and plaster, they are the pages of a vast, open book. Here a graffito scratched by a lover, "I love you and I am yours." There a political slogan painted in red ochre, "Vote for Lucius, he bakes the best bread." The walls speak of ordinary life, of market prices, of gladiator fights, of children's drawings. A child once traced a dog on a wall, and that little dog still runs beside a fountain, forever chasing a shadow. But there are deeper whispers too. In the House of the Vetii, the frescoes are so vivid that you can almost hear the laughter of the banquets they depict. The walls show gods and goddesses, nymphs and satyrs, all frozen in a dance of joy. The colors, deep reds, warm ochres, sky blues, still glow as if painted yesterday. And when the evening light slants through the broken roof, it seems as though the figures might step down from the walls and invite you to dine with them. Then there is the Garden of the Fugitives. Here, the walls are silent in a different way. The ash that once suffocated the city has preserved the hollow forms of those who tried to flee. Now plaster casts fill those voids, capturing the final moments of a mother shielding her child, of a man curled in prayer. The walls around them do not whisper of life, but of love and loss. Yet even in this sorrow, there is a gentle peace, a reminder that these were real people with hopes and fears like our own. As you wander deeper into the city, you come to the Forum. Once the heart of Pompeii, it is now a wide, open space surrounded by broken columns. The wind murmurs through the marble ruins, and you can almost hear the merchants calling out their wares, the philosophers debating in the shade. The walls of the temples still stand tall, their inscriptions praising gods who are now silent, but the stones remember. They remember the prayers, the festivals, the quiet moments of reflection. Perhaps the most mysterious whispers come from the Villa of the Mysteries. Here, the walls are covered in a series of frescoes that have puzzled scholars for centuries. They depict a woman being initiated into a secret cult, her journey from fear to enlightenment. The figures are larger than life, their eyes following you as you move. The colors are rich and strange, deep purples, glowing golds, a red that seems to pulse with hidden meaning. As you stand in that room, the walls seem to breathe, and you feel as though you are part of the ritual, a witness to something sacred and timeless. And then there is the night. When the tourists leave and the moon rises over Mount Vesuvius, Pompeii becomes a place of profound stillness. The shadows stretch long and soft, and the whispers grow louder. The walls no longer speak of politics or commerce, they speak of the stars of the earth, of the eternal cycle of destruction and rebirth. They remind you that this city was not just a tragedy, it was a life lived fully and passionately until the very end. So as you drift towards sleep, let the whispers of Pompeii carry you. Let the gentle voices of its walls tell you stories of love, of art, of everyday courage. And remember that even in the silence of ancient stones, there is a voice that never fades, a voice that says, "We were here, we lived, and we still speak to those who listen." Beneath the gentle waves of the Arabian Sea, off the western coast of India, there lies a city that time itself tried to hide. It is a place of legend, of ancient kings and divine architects, a city that was said to be made of gold and gemstones, and then swallowed by the ocean in a single sorrowful night. This is the story of Dwarka, the sunken city of Lord Krishna, a place where myth and history meet in the silent, blue depths. Long ago, in the age of the Mahabharata, the city of Dwarka was built by the god Vishwakarma himself, at the command of Lord Krishna. It was no ordinary city. Its streets were laid with perfect precision, its palaces were adorned with crystal and coral, and its harbors welcomed ships from distant lands. The city was a jewel on the coast of Gujarat, a haven of peace and prosperity. But after Krishna left the mortal world, the sea, as if mourning his departure, rose up and claimed the city for its own. For centuries, the story was dismissed as a beautiful fable, a bedtime story told to children. But then, in the 1980s, marine archaeologists began to find something extraordinary. Off the coast of the modern city of Dwarka, divers discovered structures far beneath the surface. Pillars, walls, and even entire blocks of stone, arranged in a grid, as if the city had simply sunk in one piece, slowly and gracefully, like a great ship settling onto the ocean floor. The water is clear here, and the sunlight filters down in long, pale beams, illuminating the ancient stones. They are covered in barnacles and sea fans, but their shape is unmistakable. These are the foundations of a lost city. Discoveries are not just random stones. There are the remains of a massive wharf, built with great blocks of sandstone, each one weighing several tons. Nearby, archaeologists found a circular structure, perhaps a temple, with a central pillar that once held a sacred image. Pottery shards, beads, and even a small bronze bell have been recovered from the site. The pottery has been dated to around 1500 BCE, which matches the time of the Mahabharata. The city, it seems, was no myth. It was real, and it was thriving. Imagine standing on the deck of a research vessel, looking down into the water. The sea is calm, a deep turquoise green. Below, the shapes of the city are just visible, like a ghostly impression of a world that once was. The currents are gentle, and schools of silver fish drift through the empty doorways. The stones are worn smooth by centuries of water, but you can still see the marks of ancient chisels, the careful craftsmanship of a people who built to last. And yet, the sea took it all. Perhaps a great storm or a shift in the Earth's crust caused the land to sink. Or perhaps, as the legend says, the ocean simply wanted to keep the city safe, hidden in its quiet embrace. The site is now protected, and only a few divers are allowed to explore it. They speak of a feeling of deep peace when they swim among the ruins. The water is warm, and the light dances on the stones. It is a place where time seems to slow down, where the past and the present merge into one long, gentle moment. The city of Dwarka sleeps beneath the waves, a silent guardian of an ancient story. As you listen to this, you might imagine yourself floating above those stones, weightless and still. The world above fades away, and you are left with only the soft sound of water and the sight of a city that has become one with the sea. It is a reminder that even the greatest of civilizations can be swallowed by time, but their stories remain, carried on the currents, waiting for someone to listen. And so the sunken city of Dwarka remains, a quiet wonder beneath the waves. It asks nothing of us, but it gives us a glimpse into a world that was, a world of gods and kings, of golden palaces and peaceful harbors. It is a sleeping beauty of the deep, and it will continue to dream, undisturbed, for as long as the sea holds it close. High among the rugged slopes of Mount Pugidocious, in a place where the air is thin and the sky feels endlessly wide, there once stood a sanctuary that held the whispers of the gods. This was the Oracle of Delphi, a place not of loud proclamations, but of quiet, murmuring secrets. Picture it now, not as a bustling ruin, but as it was in its age of mystery, a sacred precinct of stone and olive trees, where the scent of laurel and incense drifted on a constant, gentle breeze. For centuries, pilgrims came from all corners of the ancient world, traveling dusty roads and sailing across wine-dark seas. They came not for spectacle, but for guidance. A farmer might ask if his crops would flourish, a king might seek counsel before a great war, and a lost soul might wonder about their fate. They would climb the sacred way, a winding path lined with marble treasuries and bronze offerings, each step bringing them closer to the heart of the mystery. The atmosphere was one of deep reverence, a hush broken only by the rustle of robes and the soft chanting of priests. At the center of this sanctuary was the Temple of Apollo, a structure of gleaming columns and shadows. Beneath its floor, a deep chasm split the earth, and from this crack rose a strange, sweet vapor. It was this vapor, the ancients believed, that held the power to connect the mortal with the divine. Seated on a tripod of bronze, the Pythia, the high priestess of the oracle, would breathe in these fumes. She was not a queen or a warrior, but a woman chosen from the local townsfolk, often older and wise. As the vapors filled her senses, her words would change, becoming a stream of murmurs, riddles, and half-formed sounds. The priests who stood near would listen carefully, transcribing her utterances into hexameter verses, poetry that was both beautiful and puzzling. To the seeker, these words were never simple. They were like a river's current, clear in parts yet full of hidden bends and deep pools. One famous reply came to King Croesus, who asked if he should go to war. The oracle said, "If you cross the river Harleys, a great empire will fall." He crossed, believing he would triumph, but it was his own empire that crumbled. The secret of the oracle was not in giving a direct answer, but in presenting a mirror to the soul, forcing the seeker to look deeper. The ambiguity was part of the wisdom. What was the source of the Pythia's power? For many years, scholars debated. Some said it was a physical phenomenon, perhaps a fault line releasing ethylene or methane gas, substances known to induce a trance-like state. Others believed it was purely a ritual of psychology, a method of unlocking intuition. The ancient Greeks themselves offered no simple explanation. They accepted the mystery as part of the sacred. They knew that the whispering chamber, the temple's inner sanctum, was built with a perfect acoustics that amplified the priestess's voice, making it seem to come from the earth itself. The architecture was part of the secret, a quiet technology of sound and space. Beyond the vapors and the riddles, there was a simpler truth. The Oracle of Delphi was a place of stillness. After the long journey, the prayers and the offerings, the seeker was invited to wait, to reflect. The sanctuary was dotted with inscriptions, "Know thyself," and "Nothing in excess," carved into stone. These were not divine commands, but gentle reminders. The ultimate secret of the oracle, perhaps, was that wisdom does not roar from a distance, but hums in the quiet moments. It asks you to pause, to listen to the wind in the olive leaves, and to find the answer already sleeping in your own heart. As centuries passed, the oracle's voice faded. The Roman emperors came and went, Christianity spread, and the temple slowly fell into ruin. Earthquakes toppled the columns, and the sacred spring dried up. Yet the memory of that place, where the earth breathed and a woman whispered, did not vanish. It lingers still in the ruins of Delphi, in the stillness of the mountains, and in every story we tell about seeking wisdom. And so, as you drift towards sleep, imagine yourself there, on a quiet hillside under a star-filled sky, where the only sound is the soft murmur of ancient secrets, never quite spoken, but always felt. Beneath the silent, star-scattered sky of the Egyptian desert, the Great Pyramid of Giza rises from the sand like a mountain carved by forgotten hands. For more than 4,000 years, it has stood, a monument to mystery, a riddle wrapped in limestone. We know its outer form, its grand passages, its royal chambers. Yet even now, in our age of scanners and satellites, the pyramid holds secrets that refuse to be told. Imagine, if you will, a warm evening long ago. The sun has just dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of amber and violet. The pyramid's smooth casing stones, long since stripped away, would have gleamed like a mirror, reflecting the dying light. Inside, the air is still and cool. The only sounds are the whisper of your own breath and the faint echo of footsteps on ancient stone. Let us journey inward, through the narrow ascending passage that leads from the entrance into the heart of the structure. The corridor is low, just over a meter high, forcing you to stoop. The walls are rough-cut limestone blocks, fitted so precisely that a knife blade cannot slide between them. A faint draft carries the scent of dry dust and eternity. After a long, gentle climb, the passage opens into the Grand Gallery, a soaring corridor 7 meters tall, lined with corbelled walls that step inward as they rise. Here, the space feels almost alive, as if the stone itself holds a breath. At the far end of the Grand Gallery lies the King's Chamber, a room of red granite. Its ceiling is formed by 9 massive slabs, each weighing over 40 tons. Above them, 5 relieving chambers distribute the immense weight of the pyramid, preventing collapse. For centuries, this was the only known burial chamber, but no king's body was ever found inside. The sarcophagus stands empty, its lid missing, as if the pharaoh simply vanished into the air. Below, connected by a descending passage, is the Queen's Chamber. It is smaller, simpler, with a pointed roof and a niche in the eastern wall. Some believe it was meant for a statue of the king, or perhaps for a different burial ritual. But again, it holds no treasure, no inscription, only the quiet presence of the unknown. Now, in recent years, scientists have turned to cosmic rays, muons that rained down from space, to peer through the pyramid's stone as if it were a ghost. What they found astonished the world. In 2017, a large void was detected above the Grand Gallery. It is at least 30 meters long, a hidden space that no known passage reaches. It is not a chamber in the usual sense. It is a great emptiness, sealed and silent for millennia. What could it contain? Perhaps a secret burial room, a cache of sacred objects, or simply an architectural anomaly, an empty space left to relieve stress. We do not know. And there is more. Other scans have hinted at smaller voids behind the walls, perhaps corridors that lead to yet undiscovered rooms. The pyramid's internal structure is like a honeycomb of wonders, each cavity a question mark. Every time we look deeper, the pyramid gives us another puzzle. Imagine standing near the entrance at dawn. The first rays of sunlight creep over the horizon, touching the tip of the pyramid. Inside, the darkness begins to recede, but only a little. The hidden chambers remain in shadow, patient and still. They have waited through the rise and fall of empires, through wars and peace, through the birth of science and the age of exploration. They will wait longer still. Perhaps one day we will enter those unseen spaces. Perhaps we will find answers, or perhaps only more mysteries. But for now, the Great Pyramid invites us to dream. In its silent heart, there is a quiet peace, a reminder that some things are meant to remain hidden, wrapped in the gentle embrace of time. And as you close your eyes, let your thoughts drift like grains of sand across the desert. The pyramid stands, eternal and calm. Its hidden chambers are not secrets to be feared, but treasures of the imagination, waiting for you in the quiet of the night. Long ago, in a city that shimmered in the edge of the sea, there stood a library unlike any other. It was a place where the world's knowledge was gathered like quiet stars into a single, vast sky. When you imagine the Library of Alexandria, you might picture towering shelves of papyrus scrolls, the murmur of scholars, the soft shuffle of sandals on marble floors. But the last scrolls of that library, they hold a different kind of story, one of gentle endings and lingering echoes. Let us travel back together, slowly, as if walking through a dream, to the days when the library's great halls were growing quiet. The library had been a beacon for centuries. From every corner of the known world, ships brought their cargo of words, poems from Greece, star charts from Babylon, medicine from India, philosophy from Egypt. Scribes worked by lamplight, copying and translating, their hands moving with patient rhythm. The air smelled of aged papyrus, cedar oil, and the faint salt breeze from the harbor. But as the years passed, the city faced many changes. Empires rose and fell, fires swept through quarters, and the library's collections began to scatter. Still, even in its final days, the library remained a sanctuary for those who loved wisdom. Now think of the last scrolls. They were not dramatic or grand. They were the quiet survivors, the ones that had been overlooked, hidden away in a small, dim chamber near the back of the complex. The room was cool and dry, with a single high window that let in a column of amber light at sunset. Dust motes danced in that beam, and the scrolls lay in clay jars, their edges frayed, their ink fading. One scroll contained a farmer's almanac, noting the rising of the Nile and the best times to plant barley. Another held a fragment of a play, a comedy perhaps, with a joke about a haughty philosopher. A third was a letter from a traveler in India, describing the scent of jasmine and the laughter of children. These were not the great works of Aristotle or Euclid. They were the everyday thoughts of ordinary people, whispers of life that had once been vibrant. As the library's main halls grew emptier, a few devoted keepers still tended to these last scrolls. They were not warriors or heroes, but gentle souls who believed that every word deserved a chance to be remembered. One such keeper was an old woman named Thalia, whose fingers were stained with ink from years of copying. She would come each morning, light a small oil lamp, and unroll a scroll with the utmost care. She spoke to the texts as if they were old friends, reading aloud in a soft, murmuring voice. She believed that the knowledge in those scrolls was not just information, it was a kind of music, a song of human experience that could soothe the heart. One evening, as the sun set over the harbor, Thalia sat with the last scroll she would ever hold. It was a poem about the stars, written by a woman whose name had been lost. The poem described the night sky as a great, dark cloth embroidered with silver threads, and it spoke of how the constellations were like memories of ancient fires. Thalia read it slowly, letting each word settle in the quiet air. Outside, the city hummed with its own life, but in that chamber, time seemed to soften. She felt a deep peace, knowing that the scrolls had given their wisdom to those who needed it, and that even if they crumbled, the ideas they carried would live on in other hearts. And so, the last scrolls of the Library of Alexandria did not vanish in a blaze of fire or a dramatic collapse. They faded gently, like a candle burning low. Some were taken by visitors who carried them to distant lands. Others were buried in the sand when the city's fortunes changed, their clay jars keeping them safe for centuries. Today, archaeologists sometimes find these fragments in the earth, and when they do, they handle them with the same reverence Thalia showed. The words on those scrolls are often incomplete, but they still speak of harvests, of laughter, of the stars. They remind us that knowledge is not about power or glory, it is about connection, about the quiet threads that weave us together across time. And as you drift towards sleep, you can imagine those last scrolls resting in the dark, waiting for a gentle hand to unroll them once more, their stories still echoing in the stillness of the night. Beneath a vast, star-filled sky, in the high desert of southern Peru, there lies a silent gallery of giants. Etched into the sun-baked earth, stretching for hundreds of miles, are the Nazca lines, ancient geoglyphs that have puzzled and enchanted the world for centuries. Imagine yourself floating high above the pampas, the dry wind whispering across the plains, as the first light of dawn paints the horizon in shades of rose and gold. Below you, the ground reveals its secrets. A hummingbird with wings outstretched, a monkey with a spiraling tail, a spider, a condor, and countless other figures, each drawn with a single unbroken line. These are not random scratches, they are messages to the gods, left by the Nazca people who lived here from about 200 BC to 600 AD. To understand these lines, you must first feel the land. The Nazca region is one of the driest on Earth, a place where rain rarely falls and the soil is a pale, dusty crust. Yet the Nazca people thrived here, building aqueducts and canals to bring water from the distant Andes. They were farmers, weavers, and potters, but most of all, they were visionaries. For reasons we can only guess, they decided to transform the desert floor into a canvas. Using wooden stakes and ropes, they carefully scraped away the top layer of dark, iron oxide-coated stones, revealing the lighter earth beneath. The contrast was stark, and it has lasted for over 1,000 years, preserved by the arid climate and the lack of wind. But why create such enormous drawings, some as long as a football field, that can only truly be seen from the sky? The Nazca people themselves never saw their work in its entirety. They had no hot air balloons or airplanes, yet they must have known the lines were meant for the eyes above. Ancient cultures across the world looked to the heavens, and the Nazca were no exception. They observed the sun, the moon, and the stars, and they believed that the gods lived among them. These lines, they thought, were pathways, offerings, or prayers etched into the earth. Perhaps the hummingbird was a plea for rain, its long beak sipping nectar from the sky. The monkey might have represented the constellation Ursa Major, or maybe it was a guardian spirit. The straight lines and trapezoids could have been ceremonial walkways, leading pilgrims to sacred sites where they would perform rituals to ensure the fertility of the land. As you drift into the story, picture the Nazca people gathering at the edge of the desert, their faces lit by torches. They walk in procession along one of the long, straight lines, chanting softly, their footsteps tracing a path that connects the earthly to the divine. The line leads to a clearing where a spiral has been carved into the ground, a symbol of eternity, of the journey of the soul. They leave offerings, pottery, textiles, and the bones of llamas. They believe that if the gods see their devotion from above, the rains will come and the corn will grow. The lines are not just art, they are a conversation with the unseen, a bridge between the human and the celestial. Modern scholars have proposed many theories. Some say the lines align with astronomical events, marking the solstices and equinoxes. Others suggest they are part of a vast water cult, pointing to underground aquifers. A few have even wondered if they were landing strips for visitors from other worlds, though that idea is more whimsical than scientific. What we do know is that the Nazca people created these geoglyphs with incredible precision, using simple tools and a deep understanding of geometry. The lines remain remarkably straight, some stretching for miles, deviating only a few inches. It is a testament to their patience and their faith. Today, the Nazca Lines are a UNESCO World Heritage Site, protected from the encroaching world. They still lie in the desert, silent and mysterious, waiting for the sun to rise each morning. As you listen to this story, imagine yourself as a bird soaring over the pampas, watching the shadows of the figures grow long. The wind carries no sound but the soft rustle of time. The lines are still here, still speaking. They remind us that humanity has always looked up, wondering, hoping, and reaching out. And in that quiet desert, under that endless sky, the messages to the gods remain patient and eternal. Beneath a quiet hill in China's Shanxi province, where the earth holds secrets older than memory, there lies an army that has never known battle, an army that has stood watch for more than 2,000 years. This is the silent vigil of the Terracotta Warriors, a story woven from clay, fire, and the dreams of a single emperor. It begins with Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of a united China. He was a man of ambition and mystery who sought not only to rule the living, but to conquer the realm beyond. He believed that death was not an end, but a passage into another world, a world where he would need protection, power, and companionship. So he commanded an army unlike any the world had ever seen. Thousands of life-sized soldiers, each carved from terracotta, each unique in face and form, to stand guard in his eternal tomb. The creation of these warriors was a labor of love and terror. For decades, artisans toiled in vast workshops, shaping clay with their hands, etching every detail, the curve of a moustache, the knot of a helmet, the folds of a tunic. They mixed the earth with water and patience, then fired the figures in kilns that glowed like distant suns. Each soldier was a portrait, perhaps modeled after real men who had marched in the emperor's armies. Their eyes were painted with care, their armor polished to a dull sheen. And when the last warrior was finished, they were arranged in battle formation, row upon row, facing east, toward the emperor's former enemies. Then the tomb was sealed. The earth was mounded over them, and grass grew green and thick, hiding the silent army from all eyes. For centuries, farmers plowed above them, unknowingly tilling the soil over a buried legion. The warriors slept, their painted colors fading, their clay bodies slowly cracking under the weight of time. They stood in darkness, listening to the drip of water and the whisper of roots, patient and unmoving, as dynasties rose and fell, as empires crumbled and rebuilt, as the world turned and turned. It was not until 1974, when a group of farmers digging a well struck something hard, that the army was discovered. They unearthed a head, a terracotta head, staring up at the sky with empty eyes. The news spread across the globe, and archaeologists came to excavate the site. What they found was beyond imagination: 3 pits filled with thousands of warriors, each with a distinct face, each standing at attention, as if waiting for a command that would never come. Today, the terracotta warriors are no longer hidden. They stand in vast hangars under soft lights, watched by visitors from every corner of the world. But they have not forgotten their duty. They still face east, their silent mouths frozen in expressions of calm resolve. Their hands, once gripping real bronze weapons, now stolen by time, rest at their sides. Their armor, though faded, still seems to gleam in the dim light. And at night, when the tourists have gone and the museum is quiet, some say you can almost hear a whisper, a breath of wind through ancient clay, a faint rustle of unstrung bows, a memory of marching feet that never sounded. So let your thoughts drift to that quiet hill, to the soldiers who have stood so long and so still. They ask nothing of us but to remember. They teach us that even in silence there is strength. Even in stillness, there is story. And as you close your eyes, imagine those warriors standing watch over an emperor's dream, over a history that never sleeps. Their vigil is eternal, but their peace is gentle. Let that peace settle over you now, like dust settling in a forgotten tomb, warm and soft and safe. Good night, and may your dreams be as timeless as the clay that keeps its watch. Long ago, when the world was younger and the desert winds carried secrets on their breath, there stood a city of wonder, Babylon. It was a place of towering walls and glittering temples, but the most cherished of its marvels was a dream made real, the Hanging Gardens. No one knows exactly when they were built, but the stories whisper of a king who loved his queen, a princess from a green and misty land. She missed the mountains of her home, the cool shade of forests, the sound of water trickling over stone. And so, to ease her heart, the king commanded that a garden be raised from the desert floor, a garden that would seem to float in the air, like a vision from a distant world. Imagine the scene, a great square of terraces, rising one above the other like a staircase to the sky. Each terrace was built of baked brick and bitumen, strong enough to hold the weight of earth and tree. Stone beams, perhaps of cedar and palm, supported the weight, and above them lay a thick layer of reeds, then tiles, then laid, so water would not seep through. And then the soil, deep and rich, brought from far away, carried by countless hands. Upon these terraces, trees of every kind were planted: date palms, cypress, pomegranate, and fig. Flowers of every color, roses, lilies, jasmine, bloomed in the shade of the trees. Vines climbed the stone pillars, and herbs grew in the cracks, filling the air with scent. Water was the true miracle. From the Euphrates River, a system of pumps and chains brought water up to the highest terrace. Then it trickled down through channels and hidden pipes, watering each root, each leaf, each petal. The sound of falling water was constant, a gentle music that blended with the songs of birds and the buzzing of bees. The gardens were not just a place of beauty, they were a living engine, a testament to human ingenuity and love. Even the dust of the desert could not reach them, for the leaves caught every grain, and the air became cool and damp, like a hidden oasis in the middle of the city. As the sun set over Babylon, the gardens would glow with a soft golden light. The shadows of the trees stretched long across the terraces, and the water caught the last rays, turning them into liquid fire. People from all over the ancient world came to see this wonder, and they spoke of it with hushed voices, as if they had glimpsed the gardens of the gods. But time, as it always does, took its toll. The great city of Babylon faded, its walls crumbled, its temples fell to dust. The Hanging Gardens, too, disappeared from the earth, leaving behind only stories and a lingering sense of wonder. Today, archaeologists search for its remains, sifting through layers of sand and history. Some believe the gardens never existed, that they are a beautiful legend. Others think they were real, perhaps located not in Babylon, but in Nineveh or somewhere else entirely. But the truth may never be known. What remains is the idea, a dream of a garden in the desert, a place where love and nature triumphed over the harshness of the world. It reminds us that even in the most unlikely places, we can create something that seems impossible, something that lifts the spirit and whispers of a gentler world. So as you close your eyes, picture those terraces, the sound of water, the scent of flowers, and let that dream carry you into a peaceful sleep. On a small, remote island in the vast Pacific Ocean, there stands a silent gathering of ancient stone figures. They are the Moai of Easter Island, known to the people who live there as Rapa Nui. These monolithic guardians have watched over the land for centuries, their faces carved from volcanic rock, their eyes turned inward toward the island and outward toward the sea. As the sun sets and the sky turns to shades of lavender and rose, the Moai seem to soften, their shadows stretching long across the grassy slopes. They are not menacing, but peaceful, like old sentinels who have seen countless generations come and go. The story of the Moai begins long ago, when Polynesian voyagers first arrived on this isolated speck of land, perhaps around 1200 AD. They brought with them their customs, their language, and their deep reverence for their ancestors. Over time, the people of Rapa Nui began to carve these giant figures, each one representing a powerful chief or a lineage elder who had passed into the spirit world. The moai were not just statues, they were living vessels of mana or spiritual energy that could protect and bless the community. The carving took place in the quarry of Rano Raraku, a volcanic crater that provided the soft, porous, tough stone. Here the artisans would chip away at the mountainside, using only stone picks and hand tools, working slowly and with great care. They would shape the long ears, the strong jawlines, the heavy brows, and the elongated noses that give the moai their distinctive look. Once a statue was fully carved, it was separated from the rock and moved down the slope to be erected on a platform, or ahu, near the coast. The journey of a moai from quarry to platform was a remarkable feat. Some of these figures weigh as much as 80 tons, and they were transporting without wheels or metal tools. How did they do it? The people likely used a system of ropes, wooden sledges, and a gentle rocking motion, perhaps walking the statue forward like a giant upright figure. It was a communal effort, a dance of strength and cooperation, with chants and prayers guiding each step. The moai were placed on ahu, which were carefully constructed stone platforms that often contained burial chambers. The statues faced inland, watching over the villages and the families who lived there. They were the ancestors, the protectors, the ones who ensured that the land would be fertile, the fish would be plentiful, and the people would thrive. For centuries, the moai stood in silence, their presence a constant reminder of the past and the sacred ties that bound the community together. But life on Easter Island was not always peaceful. Resources were limited, and as the population grew, so did the competition for land and food. The island's forests were cleared for farming and for moving the statues, and eventually the delicate balance of nature began to shift. By the time European explorers arrived in the 18th century, many of the moai had been toppled, their platforms broken. The people had turned against one another, and the statues that once represented unity had become symbols of a fractured society. Yet even in their fallen state, the moai remained powerful. They lay on the ground, their faces still carved with the same expression, calm, enduring, and wise. Over time, archaeologists and the Rapa Nui people themselves began to restore the moai, lifting them back onto their platforms, repairing the ahu, and honoring the ancestors once more. Today, the moai of Easter Island stand tall again, their gaze fixed on the horizon. They remind us that even the mightiest of civilizations can fall, but that the spirit of a people can endure. As you drift into sleep, imagine the gentle breeze moving across the island, the sound of waves lapping against the shore, and the silent, steadfast presence of these ancient guardians. They are not watching in judgment, but in quiet contemplation, like old friends who have seen the world change and understand that peace is the greatest treasure of all. The moai teach us to honor our past, to care for our home, and to find strength in stillness. And so, as the stars come out over Easter Island, the moai continue their eternal watch, and you can rest, knowing that some things are timeless. Close your eyes for a moment, and imagine a sea so deep and blue that it holds the memory of ancient things. Beneath the waves, somewhere between the shores of memory and myth, lies a story that has drifted through time like a slow current. It is the legend of Atlantis. Long ago, before the great cities of the world had learned to write their own histories, the philosophers of ancient Greece spoke of a land that had once been glorious beyond measure. Plato, the wise teacher, told of a tale passed down by Egyptian priests of an island kingdom that stood in the Atlantic Ocean, far beyond the Pillars of Hercules, where warm winds blew and the waters shimmered with a light like liquid silver. And in his telling, this island was a garden of wonder, tended by a people who had been blessed by the gods themselves. They say Atlantis was circular in its design, with rings of land and water arranged like the inside of a great shell, slowly opening outward toward the endless sea. Stone bridges spanned these gentle channels, carrying travelers from one ring to the next, past gardens of lotus and violet, past groves of sweet-smelling cedar. At the very heart of the island stood a palace of white and red stone, crowned with golden statues that caught the morning light, and scattered it across the water like scattered coins. The people who lived there were said to be descendants of the sea god Poseidon, and they honored him with temples of carved ivory and glittering orichalcum, a metal that gleamed like fire in the sun and yet felt cool and calm to the touch. It was a place of gentle abundance. Orchards bore fruit without complaint, the hills were rich with olives and vines, and the air was warm and sweet, carrying the scent of salt and blossoms in equal measure. The Atlanteans were wise at first. They spoke with kindness, governed with fairness, and their ships sailed to distant lands, not to conquer but to trade, to learn, and to share the stories of their beautiful home. And for many ages they lived like that, with their eyes on the stars and their roots deep in the soft earth, at peace with one another and with the wide, generous sea. But a legend always has a shadow, and time is a river that carries even the mightiest cities toward the ocean's edge. Slowly, the people of Atlantis began to lose their humility. They grew proud of their golden towers, proud of their power, proud of the way their name echoed across the known world. They forgot the gentle ways of their ancestors, and their hearts became heavy with the desire for more than they truly needed. And when a people forget their goodness, the earth itself seems to take a long, slow breath and let them go. In one night, or perhaps in one long afternoon of stillness, the sea rose to claim them. The great island trembled, and the once solid land of Atlantis slipped beneath the waves, folding into the silent blue as if it had been no more than a dream woven from moonlight. No great storm was needed, no fiery war, no terrible reckoning. The ocean simply opened its arms and received them home, and the place that had once shone so brightly grew quiet and deep and still. And yet, something remained. Because Atlantis was never truly gone. It lives in the stories told by firelight, in the curiosity of scholars who study maps of empty ocean, in the diver who sees a strange pattern in the sand far below and pauses, wondering. It lives in all the lost things of the world, all the places that time has folded away, waiting to be remembered again in some gentler age. So tonight, as you lie here, warm and safe, let the legend of Atlantis settle over you like a soft tide. Let your thoughts drift downward, past the sunlight and the silver fish, past the current and the coral, to that quiet place where forgotten wonders sleep. There is nothing to fear there, only peace. The ocean holds its treasures gently, and the story of that golden island is told now to the whales, to the stars reflected on the water, to anyone who listens with a kind heart. And perhaps that is the true meaning of Atlantis, not a city lost, but a story kept. A reminder that everything beautiful leaves its light behind, like the last glow of sunset upon the waves. And as your own thoughts grow soft and slow, you can rest in the knowledge that some legends do not end. They only drift and dream and keep a gentle watch over those who remember them. So sleep now, dear friend. Sleep as peacefully as the stones of Atlantis sleep, far beneath the quiet sea. Let the waves sing to you, let the deep calm hold you, and let the legend carry you gently into dreams. Imagine a long time ago, in a land that is now Pakistan and northwest India, there lived a people who built cities of baked brick, with straight streets and advanced drains. They traded with faraway lands, crafted beautiful beads and seals, and left behind a mystery that still whispers to us today. This is the story of the Indus Valley civilization and its undeciphered script. It was a civilization that flourished from about 3300 to 1300 BCE, at the same time as ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia. But while the hieroglyphs of Egypt and the cuneiform of Sumer were eventually read, the writing of the Indus people remains a puzzle. The script appears on thousands of small seals, usually made of steatite, a soft stone. These seals are often carved with a short line of symbols and a picture of an animal, like a unicorn, a bull, or an elephant. The symbols are neat and orderly, like tiny stamps of meaning that we can only guess at. When you look at these ancient marks, you feel a sense of calm curiosity. The symbols are not pictures like hieroglyphs, but more abstract. Some are like simple geometric shapes, others have lines that look like fish or arrows. There are about 400 to 600 distinct signs, but the average inscription is only 4 or 5 symbols long. This short length makes it very hard to find patterns. Scholars have tried many ways to decipher it, comparing it to other scripts, looking for repeated sequences, even using computers. But still, the script remains silent. Yet the mystery is not frustrating. It is a gentle invitation to wonder. What did these people write about? Perhaps the seals were used for trade, like stamps to mark goods. Or maybe they were amulets, carrying prayers or the names of gods. Some think the symbols might represent a language similar to Dravidian, spoken in South India today, but no one knows for sure. The Indus script is a quiet secret, held in the earth for thousands of years. The civilization itself was peaceful. There are no grand palaces or huge monuments to kings. Instead, the cities had large baths, granaries, and houses with wells. The people loved art. They made little terracotta toys, delicate jewelry, and those beautiful seals. The seals themselves are like tiny windows into their world. You can hold a seal in your hand and trace the symbols with your finger, feeling the bumps of ancient carving. They are small, usually about an inch square, but they carry a whole lost world. We do not know if the script was used for everyday writing because no long texts have survived. Perhaps they wrote on palm leaves or cloth, which have rotted away. Only the stone seals remain, and the occasional potsherd with a few scratched marks. This scarcity makes the deciphering even harder, but it also makes the mystery more beautiful. It is a puzzle that may never be solved, and that is okay. Some mysteries are meant to sleep quietly, like a lullaby that has no words. Imagine a scholar sitting by a lamp, turning a seal over and over, looking at the symbols. The room is quiet, the night is deep. The symbols are silent, but they speak of a civilization that was sophisticated and wise. They remind us that not everything can be known, and that some stories are best left to the imagination. So as you drift off to sleep, think of the Indus Valley people, their peaceful cities, their tiny seals, and the script that is still waiting to be read. It is a gentle mystery, a soft whisper from the past, saying, "We were here, we lived, we loved, and we left our mark." Let that thought carry you into a calm, dream-filled rest. In the quiet places of the old world, where hills curve like sleeping giants and the grass grows thick over stones that remember, there lies a doorway. It is not a doorway of wood or iron, but a threshold of mist and memory. The Celts called it the Otherworld, a realm that exists alongside our own, just beyond the veil of what the eye can see. And the keepers of that realm, the ones who dwell in the ancient mounds, are the Sidhe, the fairy folk, the people of the hollow hills. To understand the Sidhe, we must first turn back the pages of time, to a land of green valleys and grey skies, where the bards sang of heroes and gods. In the oldest tales, the Tuatha De Danann, the children of the goddess Danu, came to Ireland from across the Western Sea, bringing with them great knowledge and powerful magic. They were tall and beautiful, skilled in the arts of healing, poetry, and war. Yet after a great battle with the mortal Milesians, they chose not to leave the land entirely. Instead, they retreated beneath the earth, into the ancient burial mounds, the Sidhe. There, in the heart of the hills, they built their palaces of crystal and gold, lit by a light that never fades. And so the people of the mounds, the Eyes Sidhe, became the hidden ones, the ever-living, dwelling in a world that is both near and far. The otherworld itself is not a place of fear, though it demands respect. It is a land of eternal summer, where apple blossoms fall like soft snow, where the rivers run with wine and mead, and where no one grows old. In the tales, it is called Tir na En Og, the land of youth, and Mag Mel, the plain of joy. It is a place where time moves differently, gently, like the turning of a leaf. A single year in the mortal world might feel like 100 years in the other world, or perhaps the opposite. For those who are invited, it is a place of wonder, but also of longing, for once you step through the veil, the world you left behind is never quite the same. One of the most beloved tales of the Sidhe is that of Oisin, the poet and warrior, son of the great Fionn Mac Cumhaill. While hunting one day, he saw a beautiful woman riding towards him on a white horse. She was Niamh of the golden hair, a princess of the otherworld, and she had come to take him with her to Tir na En Og. Oisin could not resist her call. He climbed onto her horse, and together they crossed the sea on the back of a wave to a land of shimmering light. There they lived happily for what seemed like a few short years, but Oisin began to miss his homeland, his father, and his old companions. Niam gave him a mount and warned him that if his feet touched the mortal ground, he would never return. When he arrived, he found that the heroes of old were gone, scattered like leaves before the wind. The world had moved on, and generations had passed. In his grief, Oisin fell from his horse, and the moment his foot touched the earth, he aged into an old man, frail and grey, with nothing left but his stories. And so the tale reminds us that the otherworld is not a place to be taken lightly. It is beautiful, yes, but it exists on terms that mortals can hardly understand. Yet the Sidhe are not only found in grand tales, they are woven into the very landscape. In Ireland and Scotland, the ancient burial mounds, the stone circles, and the lonely thorn trees are all associated with their presence. The Sidhe are said to ride out on certain nights, especially at Samhain, when the veil between the worlds grows thin. On that night, the spirits and the fairies walk among us, and the wise keep their doors shut and their hearth fires burning. Offerings of milk and bread are left on the doorstep, small gestures of respect to the hidden people. For though the Sidhe can be generous, they can also be quick to anger if they are wronged. They are not cruel, but they are other, ancient and untamed, like the wind that moves through the hills. There is a deep beauty in this belief. It speaks of a world that is not fully visible, a land that exists beneath the surface of the ordinary. The Celts understood that the earth we walk on holds more than just soil and stone. It holds the echoes of ancestors, the whispers of the old gods, and the presence of the Sidhe, who watch over the sacred places with patient eyes. And so, if you ever find yourself on a quiet hillside at dusk, with the low sun casting long shadows across the grass, you might pause. You might listen to the hum of the wind and the rustle of leaves, and you might remember that the door to the otherworld is never truly closed. It simply waits, in the calm between heartbeats, for those who are willing to dream. Imagine, if you will, a time long ago when the world was younger and the nights stretched long and deep over the northern lands. The people of the north, the Vikings, lived close to the earth and the sea, their lives woven with the rhythms of the sun and the stars. And when winter came and the sky grew dark, a wondrous light would appear, a shimmering, silent dance of green and gold and sometimes red, like a breath of color brushed across the heavens. They called it the Northern Lights, but in their sagas, they gave it many names: the fires of the gods, the bridge of the spirits, the glow of the great beyond. In the long, cold nights, families would gather by the hearth, the fire crackling softly, and the elders would tell stories of the sky. One tale spoke of the Valkyrie, the warrior maidens who served Odin. They said that when a brave soul fell in battle, the Valkyrie would ride across the sky on their white horses, their armor and shields reflecting the light of Asgard. As they galloped, their cloaks and bridles cast the shimmering colors across the clouds, a farewell to the fallen and a welcome to the Hall of Heroes. The people would look up and whisper, "The Valkyrie are riding tonight." Another saga told of the great fox, the Arctic fox, who raced across the snow-covered mountains, his tail brushing the sky and leaving trails of fire. The fox was a trickster, mischievous and swift, and his running would stir the aurora into swirling ribbons. Children would laugh and point, saying, "Look, the fox is chasing the stars." And the elders would smile, for they knew the fox was always running, always playing, always bringing light to the darkest nights. But perhaps the most tender story was of the souls of the departed. The Vikings believed that the Northern Lights were the spirits of their ancestors, dancing in the sky, watching over the living. They would say, "Those we have lost are not gone, they are the light that guides us home." When a hunter was lost in the snow, he would look to the aurora for direction, trusting that the glowing path would lead him back to his village. And when a child was born, the lights would shine brightest, as if the sky itself welcomed the new life. There was also a quiet wisdom in these stories. The lights were not just beautiful, they were a reminder of the cycles of life, of the connection between the earth and the heavens. The Vikings knew that the sun never truly left, It just rested beneath the horizon, and the lights were its dreams. They would say, the sky is a great ocean, and the stars are its fish. The northern lights are the waves, moved by the breath of the world. As you drift into sleep, imagine yourself in a longhouse, the warmth of the fire on your face, the scent of wood smoke and pine in the air. Outside, the snow falls softly, muffling the world. But above, the sky is alive with color. The lights pulse gently, like the heartbeat of the earth. You feel safe, cradled in the stories of old, connected to a time when the mysteries of the sky were as familiar as the land itself. Let the quiet glow of the northern lights carry you into a peaceful rest, where dreams are woven with the same gentle colors. Let us travel back in time, back to the warm, sunlit shores of the island of Crete, more than 3,000 years before our own day. This was the home of the Minoan civilization, a people who lived in harmony with the sea, who built palaces of labyrinthine beauty, and who left behind a treasure of art that still speaks to us in whispers. Among their most mysterious and beloved works are the small figurines known as the snake goddesses, or perhaps more accurately, the snake priestesses. They are a quiet enigma, waiting for us to imagine their story. Picture a tiny figure, barely a foot tall, made of faience, a glazed ceramic that glows with a soft turquoise light. She stands upright, her arms held out to the sides, and in each hand she grasps a serpent. The snakes are coiled, their heads rising with an alert calm. She wears a high-tiered skirt, a tight bodice that bares her breasts, and a hat that seems to sway like a flower in a gentle breeze. Her eyes are large and dark, her expression serene, almost otherworldly. She was discovered in the ruins of the Palace of Knossos, inside a stone chest, hidden for centuries, before being brought back into the light by the archaeologist Arthur Evans in the early 1900s. Evans called her the snake goddess, but we do not know her true name. The Minoans left no written records that we can fully read, only their art, their seals, and their frescoes. So she remains a mystery, a silent guardian of a lost world. The snakes she holds are not symbols of fear, but of power, of fertility, of the earth's deep wisdom. In many ancient cultures, serpents were seen as creatures of renewal, shedding their skin to be reborn. Perhaps she was a deity of the household, protecting the home from evil spirits. Or perhaps she was a priestess, performing a ritual of life and death, holding the snakes as a sign of her connection to the underworld and the sky. Imagine the palace where she once stood. The walls were painted with dolphins and lilies, with scenes of bull leaping and dancing. The air was filled with the scent of olive oil and incense. The people moved quietly, wearing bright colors, their hair elaborately curled. They would have brought offerings to this small shrine, honey, grains, or a single flower. The snake goddess would have watched over them, her arms outstretched, her snakes still and patient. There is no drama here, no fear, only a deep, quiet reverence. Several similar figurines have been found, each slightly different. One holds a single snake, another has a cat on her head. They are all small, but they carry a great weight of meaning. Some scholars think they represent a mother goddess, a precursor to later goddesses like Demeter or Ishtar. Others believe they are simply talismans meant to bring good luck. But the truth is that we can only guess. And that is part of the beauty of these ancient objects. They invite us to fill the silence with our own gentle thoughts. As you drift towards sleep, imagine the snake goddess in her original setting. The stone walls of the palace are cool, and the light from a small oil lamp casts a warm glow across her face. The snakes are not threatening, they are her companions. They sway slowly, as if to the rhythm of a lullaby. The goddess herself is calm, her eyes half closed, as if she is listening to something far away. Perhaps she is listening to the whisper of the sea or the rustle of olive leaves in the evening breeze. Or perhaps she is simply at peace, as we all are, in this quiet moment. The Minoan snake goddess remains an enigma, but she is a gentle one. She does not demand answers. She simply stands, arms open, snakes in hand, inviting us to imagine a world of beauty, mystery, and rest. And so, as you close your eyes, let her image linger in your mind, a small glowing figure holding the ancient symbols of life and renewal, a calm and everlasting presence from a time long past. In the warm, humid lowlands of ancient Mexico, where the earth is thick with rich soil and the air carries the scent of damp leaves and wild orchids, there lies a mystery carved from stone. These are the Olmec colossal heads, great sculptures of basalt that have watched over the jungle for more than 2,000 years. They are not loud or threatening. They are silent, solemn, and patient, like old guardians who have seen the centuries pass like slow clouds. Imagine a time long before the pyramids of the Maya or the great city of Teotihuacan. It is around 1500 BCE in a region we now call the Gulf Coast of Mexico. Here, the Olmec people built the first known civilization in Mesoamerica. They were farmers, traders, artists, and astronomers. And among all their works, none are more striking than these enormous heads, each one hewn from a single block of volcanic stone, some weighing up to 40 tons. How they moved these boulders across miles of swampy land, without wheels or metal tools, is a question that still drifts through the air like a whisper. Each head is unique. They wear helmet-like headgear, perhaps war helmets or ballgame gear with straps tied under the chin. The faces are broad, with full lips, wide noses, and almond-shaped eyes that gaze forward with a calm, unblinking stare. Some seem young, some older, and each has a distinct expression, a quiet dignity, a gentle strength. They are not monsters or gods, but people. Perhaps they are rulers or warriors or ancestors whose memory the Olmec wish to preserve forever. The first head was discovered in the 1860s by a farmer clearing land in the state of Veracruz. But it was not until the 1930s that archaeologists realized the scale of the find. Since then, 17 heads have been found, scattered across the Olmec heartland. They are all slightly different, yet all share that deep, peaceful stillness that makes you want to sit beside them and listen to the wind. Why were they made? We do not know for certain. Perhaps they were portraits of great leaders, set up in public plazas to remind the people of their legacy. Or perhaps they were part of rituals, offerings to the earth, the sky, the rain. Some scholars believe the helmets suggest they were ball players, for the Olmec invented the famous Mesoamerican ball game, a sacred sport with deep cosmic meaning. The heads may represent the players themselves, honored for their skill and courage. What we do know is that the Olmec civilization was a foundation upon which later cultures built. Their art, their calendar, their gods, and their way of understanding the world echoed through the Maya, the Zapotec, and the Aztec. The colossal heads are like the first words of a long, beautiful story. Standing before one of these heads today, you feel a strange peace. The stone is cool, rough, yet somehow warm in the sunlight. Moss may grow in the crevices and birds perch on the brow. The head does not move, does not speak, but it seems to remember everything. It has seen the forest grow and shrink, the stars wheel overhead, the rise and fall of empires. It waits, patient as stone, for the next generation to come and wonder. So when you close your eyes tonight, think of these ancient faces, their calm expression, their silent wisdom. They are not gone. They are still here, carved into the earth, watching over the dream of history. Long before the maps of our world were drawn, there were roads that carried not only silk, but stories, spices, and the quiet murmur of 100 languages. These were the threads of the Silk Road, stretching from the golden shores of the Mediterranean across the endless plains and deserts of Central Asia, all the way to the ancient courts of China. But time is a great wanderer, and it has a habit of leaving places behind. Today, we will rest our weary minds among the forgotten cities of that fabled road, places where the wind still sings through broken arches and the sand keeps secrets that no one is left to tell. Imagine, if you will, the city of Lulan. Nestled on the edge of a great salt lake in what is now the Taklamakan Desert, Lulan was once a jewel of emerald oases, a meeting place for caravans carrying jade, glass, and precious fleeces. The people there built their homes of sun-baked clay, and they knew the roads of the desert as a sailor knows the stars. At night, when the merchants gathered around their fires, they would speak of the great mountains to the north and the kingdoms to the west. But the lake began to recede slowly, patiently, year after year. The water fled, and with it, the green of the orchards. The people of Lulan melted away into the sand, their city standing empty as a forgotten song. Now only the wind drifts through the ruins, and the dunes have climbed over the walls, as if to tuck the old city into a long, quiet sleep. Further west, buried beneath the drifting sands, lies the city of Nia. Once a proud outpost of the Kingdom of Cotton, Nia was a place of learning and prayer, where Buddhist monks chanted softly in the morning light, and weavers worked their looms with threads of many colors. The houses there had little gardens, and the streets were lined with mulberry trees. When the desert came, it came not as a storm, but as a slow, gentle tide. The sand crept over the doorsteps, filled the courtyards, and covered the rooftops, until the entire city was a memory beneath the dunes. For centuries, travelers heard tales of a buried city with wooden pillars still standing beneath the sand. And when explorers finally uncovered it, they found wooden tablets inscribed with ancient letters, still lying on the floors where they had been dropped 1,000 years before, as if the people had simply stood up and walked away, leaving their words behind for us to find. And what of Merv, the great queen of the Silk Road? In its golden age, Merv was among the largest cities on Earth, a vast sea of mud brick houses, gardens, and towering minarets. Caravanserais lined its streets, where travelers could rest their camels and drink sweet tea beneath the stars. Scholars gathered in its libraries, copying manuscripts by candlelight. But empires rose and crumbled, and one terrible day, the city was taken and its people scattered to the winds. The gardens withered, the canals ran dry, and the great city shrank until it was nothing but a whisper in the desert. Today, the ruins of Merv stretch beneath an enormous sky, and the only sound is the call of a distant bird and the soft patter of your own heart, keeping time with 1,000 years of silence. But not all forgotten cities are buried. Some are simply surrendered to the vast, open sky. Consider the ruined city of Ani, standing alone on a high plateau at the edge of Armenia, looking out over the valley like an old woman watching the clouds. Ani was once the capital of a mighty kingdom, a city of cathedrals and golden domes, so resplendent that travelers called it the city of 1,001 churches. Its stone walls were carved with intricate patterns, and merchants from the far corners of the world would gather beneath its towers to trade horses, furs, and fine carpets. Now the churches stand open to the wind, their frescoes faded by centuries of sun and snow. The grass grows tall between the broken stones, and the silence is so deep that one can hear the far-off bleating of sheep and the whisper of the river below, as it has whispered for all these years, tender and unhurried. There is a profound peace in these forgotten places. They do not scream or mourn, they simply rest, like old letters tucked away in the attic of the world. The sands shift and the stars turn slowly overhead, and the cities of the Silk Road wait, not for anything, but simply for the quiet passage of time. And if you close your eyes and listen to the soft wind, you might almost hear the distant bells of a caravan, moving on, always moving. Until the night wraps itself around the ruins like a blanket, and the forgotten cities dream once more beneath 1,000,000 watchful stars. In the heart of the Jordanian desert, where the sun paints the sandstone cliffs in shades of rose and amber, there lies a city carved from the earth itself. A city that seems to rise from the dreams of an ancient people. This is Petra, the Nabatean stronghold, a place where stone and silence tell stories of a civilization that thrived along the spice routes over 2,000 years ago. The Nabateans were masterful traders, guiding caravans laden with frankincense, myrrh, and precious silks across the unforgiving sands. But they were also visionaries, transforming a rugged canyon into a city of breathtaking beauty. As you approach Petra, the narrow gorge called the Sick welcomes you with cool shadows and towering walls that glow with every shade of pink, coral, and ochre. The path twists gently, and the only sounds are the whisper of wind and the soft crunch of footsteps on ancient stone. It feels as though time itself has slowed, inviting you to pause and breathe. Then, without warning, the Sick opens, and the treasury appears, carved directly into the cliff face, its delicate columns and intricate friezes glowing in the first rays of morning light. The facade is a masterpiece of Hellenistic and Nabatean artistry, yet it feels organic, as if the mountain dreamed it into existence. For centuries, this monument stood in silence, known only to the Bedouin who wandered the desert, until the Swiss explorer Johann Ludwig Burckhardt rediscovered it in 1812. He had to disguise himself as a Muslim scholar to gain entry, but once inside, he knew he had found a lost wonder of the world. Beyond the treasury, the city unfolds like a secret revealed. There are temples, tombs, and theaters, all carved from the living rock. The monastery, perched high on a mountainside, requires a climb of 800 steps, but the reward is a view that stretches across the valley, a sea of golden desert broken by jagged peaks. Inside, the chambers are cool and empty, yet they echo with the presence of those who once prayed, traded, and celebrated here. The Nabateans were not only builders, but also engineers, creating an intricate system of channels and cisterns to capture every precious drop of rain in this arid land. As dusk settles, the stone walls catch the last light, turning a deep, rich rose, the color that inspired the poet John William Burgon to call Petra a rose-red city half as old as time. The shadows lengthen and the silence deepens. You can almost hear the faint jingle of camel bells, the murmur of merchants haggling in Aramaic, the laughter of children playing in the streets. But these are only echoes, phantoms of memory that linger in the desert air. Today, Petra is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of the new 7 wonders of the world. Yet it remains a place of peace, where the modern world feels far away. Visitors come not for thrills, but for contemplation, to walk among the tombs of kings and the temples of gods, to feel the cool stone beneath their fingers, and to imagine the lives of those who carved their dreams into the cliffs. The desert wind still whispers through the sick, carrying stories of caravans and camels, of traders and travelers, of a city that never truly sleeps, but dreams on in rose-red hues. So as you listen, let your mind wander through these ancient corridors. Picture the soft glow of torches in the night, the scent of incense drifting from a hidden temple, the steady rhythm of a world-long past. Let Petra be your lullaby, a gentle reminder that some dreams are carved in stone and they wait forever to be discovered. Imagine a time when the sun rose over a great plain and the first light touched a structure that seemed to reach toward the heavens themselves. This is the Ziggurat of Ur, an ancient temple built by the Sumerians over 4,000 years ago. Its name means stairway to heaven, and it was a sacred bridge between the earth and the sky, where the people of Mesopotamia believed their gods could descend to walk among them. Picture the landscape, the flat, dusty plains of what is now southern Iraq, near the ancient city of Ur. The air is warm and dry, and the only sounds are the gentle whispers of wind and the distant bleating of sheep. In the center of this quiet world stands a massive mound of sun-baked mud bricks, rising in 3 tiers. The base is wide and solid, like a mountain made by human hands. Each level is smaller than the one below, creating a stepped pyramid shape that climbs up toward the blue expanse above. A long, gentle ramp winds around the sides, leading to the topmost platform. There, a small temple once stood, painted in shades of blue and gold, glittering in the sunlight, a house for the moon god Nana. The ziggurat was not a place for the public. It was a sacred space for priests and priestesses who climbed those steps to perform rituals and offer prayers. They believed that the god Nana would descend from the night sky on a ray of moonlight to rest in his temple. Every brick in this structure held meaning. Some were stamped with the name of King Ur-Nammu, who ordered its construction around 2100 BCE. He wanted to honor the gods and unite his people in faith. Workers hauled mud from the nearby Euphrates River, mixed it with straw, and shaped it into bricks. They baked them in the sun, then carried them to the site, stacking them with precision. It was a labor of love and devotion, spanning years. As you stand at the base, looking up, you feel the weight of history. The ziggurat was once part of a larger city, surrounded by houses, markets, and gardens, but time has softened those sounds. Now only the wind and the occasional bird break the stillness. The bricks are weathered, worn smooth by centuries of rain and wind. Some have crumbled, but the core remains strong, a testament to the builder's skill. The steps are wide and gentle, inviting you to climb. With each step, you leave the ordinary world behind. The air grows cooler, the view expands, and the horizon stretches out like an endless sea. At the top, the temple is gone now, but you can sense its presence. The platform is flat and open, a quiet space where the sky feels close enough to touch. Below, the city lies asleep, but above, the stars begin to appear as dusk falls. The people of believed that here prayers traveled faster and dreams were clearer. They left offerings of grain, wine, and precious stones, hoping for blessings on their harvests and families. The ziggurat was a place of hope, a spiral of faith reaching upward. Today, the ziggurat of is a silent guardian of ancient mysteries. Archaeologists have uncovered its base, and we can walk its paths, imagining the footsteps of those who lived so long ago. It reminds us that across cultures and centuries, humans have always looked up, searching for meaning, for connection, for something beyond ourselves. As you drift into sleep, let the image of this great stairway carry you gently upward, toward a sky full of stories and stars. In the heart of Egypt's Valley of the Kings, where the golden sun casts long shadows across the desert sands, there lies a tomb that has captured the imagination of the world for a century. This is the resting place of Tutankhamun, a young pharaoh who ruled during a time of great change and mystery, and who now slumbers in eternal peace beneath the earth. The story begins not with a king, but with a discovery. In November of 1922, a British archaeologist named Howard Carter, after years of patient searching, uncovered a stone step buried beneath the rubble of an ancient workman's hut. With each careful dig, more steps emerged, leading down into the earth like a staircase to another world. The air was dry and still, carrying the scent of dust and time itself. Carter and his team felt a quiet thrill, for they knew they were approaching something extraordinary. When they finally reached a sealed door, Carter made a small hole and peered through by candlelight. His eyes adjusted to the gloom, and what he saw would echo through history. "Wonderful things," he whispered. Gold gleamed in the flickering light, statues, chariots, and treasures beyond imagining, all arranged as if waiting for the pharaoh to awaken. But this was no ordinary tomb. It was a sanctuary designed to protect the young king on his journey to the afterlife. Tutankhamun himself was a figure of quiet mystery. He became pharaoh at about the age of 9, during a turbulent period when Egypt was recovering from the religious upheavals of his father, Akhenaten. The boy king restored the old gods, especially Ammon, and brought stability back to the land. But his reign was short, and he died suddenly, perhaps from illness or injury, when he was only around 19 years old. His passing left a void, and his tomb was hastily prepared, yet with immense care and reverence. The burial chamber was a small, sacred space, its walls painted with scenes from the Book of the Dead, guiding the pharaoh through the underworld. In the center lay a series of gilded shrines, nested like a divine puzzle, each one more intricate than the last. Within them rested the stone sarcophagus, and inside, 3 golden coffins, the innermost made of solid gold, cradling the mummy of the king. His face was covered by a mask of pure gold, inlaid with lapis lazuli and obsidian, his eyes gazing upward as if toward the stars. Around him, the treasures told stories of a life both royal and human. There were sandals for his feet, games for his entertainment, and even a lock of his grandmother's hair placed tenderly in a miniature coffin. Each object was chosen to accompany him into eternity, a companion for his soul. The air in the tomb was still, heavy with the scent of resin and cedar, and the silence was profound, broken only by the soft echoes of the archaeologist's breaths. For over 3,000 years, Tutankhamun slept undisturbed, hidden from the world by the shifting sands and the passage of time. His tomb was not grand like those of the great pharaohs, but it was complete, untouched by the hands of grave robbers who had plundered so many others. This preservation allowed us to glimpse the past as it truly was, a moment frozen in amber, a window into the beliefs and artistry of ancient Egypt. Today, the pharaoh's treasures are displayed in museums, and his mummy rests once more in the Valley of the Kings, in a climate-controlled chamber watched over by the modern world. Yet, in the quiet of the night, when the desert winds whisper over the hills, one can almost imagine the young king still dreaming in his golden nest, carried on the wings of gods toward the horizon of eternity. His slumber is gentle, eternal, and filled with the peace of a journey well begun. High above the city of Athens, where the air is thin and the sky is a deep, clear blue, there stands a temple that has watched over the centuries like a quiet, aged guardian. This is the Parthenon, the home of Athene, the goddess of wisdom and war. And within its story, there is a tale of marble and memory, of hands that carved and hands that carried away. A tale of the Parthenon marbles, the echoes of Athene herself. Imagine, if you will, a time long before the noise of modern life, when the slopes of the Acropolis were covered in wild thyme and olive trees. In the 5th century before our era, the Athenians, under the leadership of Pericles, decided to build a temple that would honor their patron goddess and celebrate their city's golden age. They called upon the finest sculptors and craftsmen, and they set to work with chisels and hammers, with patience and reverence. The marble they used came from the quarries of Mount Pentelicus, a mountain that glowed white in the morning sun, as if the stone itself was touched by the divine. The Parthenon was not just a building, it was a story told in stone. On its outer walls, there were metopes, carved panels that showed scenes of battles, Greeks fighting centaurs, gods fighting giants, the triumph of order over chaos. Inside, a magnificent frieze ran around the inner chamber, a continuous ribbon of marble that depicted the Panathenaic procession, a festival held every 4 years in honor of Athene. Here you could see young men on horseback, their muscles taut and their cloaks flowing, maidens carrying sacred vessels, elders walking with staffs, and priests leading a great, folded peplos, the new robe for the ancient wooden statue of Athene. Every figure was carved with a tenderness that made the stone feel alive, as if the people in the parade might step out of the frieze and walk among us. At the heart of the temple stood a colossal statue of Athene Parthenos, the Virgin Athene, made of gold and ivory. She held a spear in one hand and a winged figure of victory in the other, and her eyes were like jewels, looking out over the city she protected. The light from the doorways would catch the gold, casting a warm glow across the marble floor, and the air would be filled with the scent of incense and the sound of soft prayers. It was a place of peace, where the human and the divine met in quiet harmony. But time, as it always does, changed everything. The centuries passed, and the Parthenon saw many visitors, Romans, Byzantines, Venetians, and Turks. The temple was converted into a church, then a mosque. The statue of Athene was lost, perhaps melted down for its precious materials. And in the early 1800s, a Scottish nobleman named Lord Elgin, with the permission of the Ottoman authorities, removed many of the marble sculptures and shipped them to England. There they remain, in the British Museum, far from the clear light of the Athenian sky. This is a story of loss and longing, but also of beauty that transcends time. The marbles themselves, whether in Athens or London, still carry the grace of the ancient carvers. The horses' manes flow with a wild freedom, the folds of the robes are soft as silk. The faces are calm, serene, as if they are dreaming of the hills and the sea that once surrounded them. And in the empty spaces on the Parthenon, where the marbles once stood, the stone seems to whisper, waiting for what might return. Tonight, as you lie still and let the world grow quiet, think of those marble figures. They are not just cold stone, they are the echoes of a civilization that believed in beauty, in wisdom, in the power of art to hold a moment forever. Athene's spirit, the wisdom of the owl, the steady hand of the sculptor, still lingers in every curve of the marble. The Parthenon marbles are not just ancient artifacts. They are a story of human hands reaching for the eternal, a story that continues to unfold, soft as a whisper, deep as a dream. And so, as the night deepens and the stars wheel above the Acropolis, let the echoes of Athene carry you into a gentle, peaceful sleep, where the marble is warm and the gods are kind. Beneath the Roman sky, when the moon casts silver light upon ancient stones, the Colosseum stands, a giant sleeping in the heart of the city. Its arches, worn by centuries of wind and rain, whisper stories to those who pause and listen. Stories not of blood and thunder, but of footsteps that once echoed on sand, of gladiators who breathed deeply before stepping into the light. Imagine, if you will, a time when the arena was not a ruin, but a living heart of an empire. The air smelled of dust and sun-baked stone, mingled with the faint scent of wild beasts brought from distant lands. Yet the true tales are not of the roar of crowds or the clash of weapons. They are of the quiet moments. The gladiator who, before the gates opened, touched the stone wall for luck. The murmurs of a prayer to Hercules or Mars, spoken so softly that only the stones could hear. Each stone in the Colosseum's walls has absorbed these whispers. The travertine blocks, once bright as fresh cream, now wear a patina of gold and grey in the moonlight. They remember the morning when a young gladiator from Gaul stood beneath the hypogeum, the underground labyrinth of cages and pulleys, and listened to the footsteps of the crowd above. He had trained for years in a school of shadows, learning to wield a net and trident under the watchful eye of a retired champion. His name is lost, but his story lives in the echoes. There is a legend that on quiet nights, when the city sleeps and the tourists have gone, the Colosseum breathes. A soft exhalation of air, as if the ancient structure itself sighs. Some say it is the wind playing through its corridors. Others believe it is the collective breath of all who once stood here, waiting. Gladiators, beasts, emperors, and slaves, their emotions linger in the stone like faint memories. A feeling of tension before the games began, of relief when a fallen foe was granted mercy, of the strange camaraderie that formed between fighters from opposite ends of the empire. One tale speaks of a gladiator named Verus, who fought not for glory but for his family's freedom. His opponent was Priscus, a veteran of many battles. Their duel became legendary, not for its brutality, but for its grace. The emperor, moved by their skill and mutual respect, declared both victors and granted them wooden swords, symbols of release. As they left the arena, they walked together, their steps light on the sand. The stones of the Colosseum remember that moment of shared humanity, a whisper that transcends time. Now the Colosseum is a place of peace. The sounds of chariots and trumpets have faded, replaced by the gentle cooing of pigeons nesting in the arches. The sand that once soaked up blood has been replaced by earth and grass, where wildflowers bloom in spring. Visitors walk slowly, their footsteps soft, as if not to disturb the dreams of the past. Children run their hands along the walls, feeling the grooves carved by ancient tools. Each groove a line in a story written by many hands. If you sit in the uppermost tier, where the poorest citizens once watched, you can look out over the modern city. The lights of Rome twinkle like stars, and the Colosseum itself seems to be a great stone ship sailing through the night. The whispers are there, just below the edge of hearing. They speak of courage and fear, of victory and defeat, but most of all, they speak of life, of the fleeting moments that make up a human story. The gladiators are gone, but their whispers remain, woven into the fabric of the Colosseum like threads of gold in a tapestry. So as you drift towards sleep, let these ancient stones comfort you. Imagine the gladiators not as warriors, but as men and women who faced their fate with dignity. The Colosseum, now a silent guardian of their memories, invites you to rest, to dream of a time long past, where every stone has a story and every whisper is a lullaby. Imagine a time when the world was quieter, when the only sounds were the wind sweeping across vast plains and the distant call of a bird. Close your eyes and let yourself drift along a path that stretches for thousands of miles, winding over mountains and through valleys, like a sleeping dragon curled upon the earth. This is the Great Wall of China, a ribbon of stone and earth that has watched over the land for more than 2,000 years. Our journey begins not with a battle, but with a whisper of ancient hands. The first walls were built long ago, not by a single emperor, but by many small kingdoms, each one piling up mud and stone to protect their homes. They were simple then, these early walls, made of packed earth and wooden beams, rising slowly from the soil like the roots of a great tree. And then, around 220 BC, the first emperor of a united China, Qin Shi Huang, looked out over his new realm and dreamed of a single, unbroken line of protection. He ordered the separate walls to be joined, extended, and strengthened. Workers by the thousands, soldiers and farmers and scholars, came together, their hands shaping the land into a barrier that would guard the fertile fields from the nomadic tribes of the north. Under the moon, you can almost hear the quiet rhythm of their labor, the soft thud of rammed earth, the gentle clink of stone against stone. As the centuries passed, the wall grew, changing with each dynasty. The Han dynasty added watchtowers, small stone houses where soldiers could light signal fires, sending smoke signals across the ridges like the breath of a sleeping giant. The Ming dynasty, which ruled from the 14th to the 17th century, built the wall we see today, with its strong bricks and mortar, its graceful crenellations, and its steep, winding stairways. They faced the wall with stone, making it solid and enduring, so that it could withstand the rains and the winds and the slow, patient work of time. Each brick was made in a kiln, carried by hand up the mountainsides and laid with care. Imagine the scene: a cool morning, mist rising from the valleys, and a line of workers climbing the slopes, their breath forming soft clouds in the air. They placed the bricks in a pattern, like a slow, steady heartbeat, building a wall that would cradle the land for generations. Now let us walk along this wall, not as a warrior, but as a dreamer. The path is wide enough for 5 horses to ride side by side, but today it is empty, save for the shadows of clouds drifting overhead. The stone is warm under your feet, worn smooth by the passage of countless pilgrims and travelers. You pass a watchtower, its roof curved like a bird's wing, and you pause to look out over the landscape. Below, the hills roll away like gentle waves, covered in green forests and terraced fields. The air is still, carrying the faint scent of wild grass and pine. In the distance, a river glimmers like a silver thread. This is a place of peace, where the only battle is between the light and the dark, the sun and the moon. And as the day fades, the wall takes on a different character. The stones grow cool, and the sky turns to shades of lavender and rose. The wall stretches into the horizon, a dark line against the fading light, and you feel a sense of calm, as if the wall itself is settling down to rest. Legend says that the wall is a great dragon, sleeping with its head in the sea and its tail in the desert. And when the wind blows through the watchtowers, it is the dragon's gentle sigh. So you walk on, your footsteps slow, your breath deep, following the curve of the wall as it leads you into the soft embrace of night. This is the Great Wall of China, not just a monument of stone, but a keeper of stories, a silent witness to the laughter and tears of ages. It has seen the rise and fall of dynasties, the coming of traders along the Silk Road, the quiet moments of a shepherd tending his flock. And now, it stands still, waiting for you to rest your mind upon its ancient stones. So let your thoughts drift like the mist. Let the wall carry you gently into a deep, peaceful sleep, where all is calm and safe, and the only sound is the whisper of history. High in the Andes Mountains of Peru, where the clouds drift low and soft as cotton, there lies a place of ancient stone and silent mystery, Machu Picchu. It is not a city of noise or haste, but of stillness and time. Built long ago by the Inca people, it sits perched on a narrow ridge between 2 peaks, Huayna Picchu and Machu Picchu Mountain. The Urubamba River curls far below, a silver thread through the green valley. No one knows exactly why it was built, but many believe it was a sacred retreat for the Inca Emperor Pachacuti, a place where the earth met the sky. The stones of Machu Picchu are not like those of other ancient cities. They are cut with such precision that no mortar was needed to hold them together. Each block fits so perfectly that you cannot slip a blade of grass between them. This is called ashlar masonry, and it is a wonder of patience and skill. The Inca builders did not have iron tools or wheels, yet they moved these enormous stones from quarries high on the mountainside. They shaped them with harder stones and sand, polishing them until they were smooth and strong. The walls have survived earthquakes and centuries of rain, standing firm as if the mountain itself had grown them. Walking through Machu Picchu today, you would feel a gentle breeze carrying the scent of damp earth and wild orchids. The terraces, carved into the steep slopes, are still green with grass. They were once planted with maize and potatoes, feeding the people who lived here. Water channels run through the city, bringing fresh spring water from the mountain. At the center is the Temple of the Sun, a semicircular building with windows that frame the rising sun on the winter solstice. The light falls exactly on a sacred stone within, a moment of perfect alignment that the Inca astronomers understood deeply. But Machu Picchu was not meant to be found by the outside world. After the Spanish conquest of the Inca Empire in the 16th century, the city was abandoned. The jungle began to reclaim it, covering the stones with moss and vines. For hundreds of years, it slept in the clouds, known only to local farmers and the spirits of the mountains. It was not until 1911 that an American explorer named Hiram Bingham was led there by a Quechua boy. Bingham was searching for the lost city of Vilcabamba, but instead, he found this hidden wonder. He wrote about it with awe, calling it the lost city of the Incas. Since then, Machu Picchu has become a symbol of the ancient world's quiet brilliance. What makes Machu Picchu so calming to imagine is its harmony with nature. The Inca built with the landscape, not against it. The city follows the curve of the mountain, its buildings and plazas fitting like a puzzle piece into the ridge. The famous Intihuatana stone, a carved rock that served as a solar clock, stands at the highest point. It is said to anchor the sun to the earth, a spiritual center for the Inca. When you stand there, you can see clouds rolling through the valley below, and the peaks of the Andes rise all around like sleeping giants. There is no traffic, no electricity, no noise but the wind and the distant call of a bird. Today, Machu Picchu is one of the most visited places on Earth, but it remains a place of peace. Visitors walk softly, speaking in whispers, as if the stones themselves are listening. The mist often wraps the city in a soft blanket, blurring the edges of time. It is easy to imagine the Inca priests walking these same paths, their sandals silent on the stone, their eyes on the stars. The city was not a fortress, but a sanctuary. It was a place to watch the seasons change, to honor the sun and the earth, to live in balance. So when you close your eyes tonight, picture yourself on that ridge. Feel the cool air on your skin, hear the gentle rustle of leaves, see the gray stones glowing in the soft light of dusk. Machu Picchu is not just a ruin, it is a memory of a world that knew how to be still. And in that stillness, you can find your own rest, as the clouds drift by and the stones hold their ancient silence. Close your eyes for a moment and let your mind drift back through the ages to a land of golden desert and ancient stone. In the quiet hills of the Judean desert, near the shores of the Dead Sea, a secret lay hidden for nearly 2,000 years. It was a secret that would change the way we understand the world, the way we see history, and the way we think about faith. These are the Dead Sea Scrolls, ancient secrets finally unveiled. Imagine a shepherd in the year 1947 wandering among the rocky cliffs of Qumran. He throws a stone into a dark opening in the limestone and hears the unexpected sound of pottery shattering. Curious, he climbs into the cave and finds tall clay jars sealed with lids. Inside them, rolled up and wrapped in linen, were scrolls of parchment and papyrus. They were fragile, brittle with age, yet still legible. The shepherd had stumbled upon the greatest archaeological discovery of the 20th century. Over the following years, more caves were explored, 11 in total, and thousands of fragments were brought to light. Scholars from around the world gathered to piece together this ancient puzzle. They worked slowly, carefully in rooms with soft light, using tweezers and magnifying glasses. Each fragment was a whisper from the past, a line of Hebrew or Aramaic, sometimes Greek, written by scribes who lived more than 2,000 years ago. What were these scrolls? They were a library, a collection of texts that belonged to a Jewish community, most likely the Essenes, who lived in the desert, away from the bustle of Jerusalem. They copied sacred scriptures, wrote commentaries, and composed their own hymns and rules for living. The scrolls include every book of the Hebrew Bible except Esther, some of them nearly identical to the versions we read today. Others contain variations, offering a glimpse into how the Bible was formed and transmitted through time. But the scrolls reveal more than just scripture. They describe daily life in a community that valued purity, study, and waiting for a coming Messiah. They wrote about a teacher of righteousness, a figure of wisdom and suffering. They wrote about the battle between the sons of light and the sons of darkness, a cosmic struggle between good and evil. And they wrote prayers, liturgies, and calendars that followed the sun, not the moon, marking time in a rhythm of festivals and seasons. Gently, like a soft breeze across the desert, the scrolls have changed our understanding of Judaism and Christianity. They show us that the world of Jesus and the first Christians was rich with diverse beliefs, hopes, and debates. The scrolls do not mention Jesus directly, but they help us hear the echoes of that restless time, a time when people were waiting, watching, and writing down their deepest thoughts. Today, the scrolls are preserved in a special vault in Jerusalem, in a dimly lit room kept at a constant temperature and humidity. They are studied by scholars who use infrared photography to read letters that are invisible to the naked eye. And yet, despite all our technology, many questions remain. Who exactly wrote the scrolls? Why were they hidden in those caves? And were there more scrolls, perhaps destroyed by time or war? As you lie here resting, let the mystery of the Dead Sea Scrolls be a gentle lullaby. Imagine those ancient scribes, sitting by lamplight, dipping their reed pens in ink, writing words they hoped would survive. And they did survive. They survived the fall of empires, the shifting of sands, the rise and fall of civilizations. They waited in the dark, in silence, until they were found. And now they speak to us softly across the centuries. So let your mind settle into that quiet cave. The stone is cool, the air is still. The scrolls are safe. They are not just ancient secrets, they are enduring whispers of human longing, faith, and the desire to leave a mark on time. And as you drift towards sleep, you can feel part of that long, gentle story, a story that continues, even now, in the quiet of your own breathing. Close your eyes and imagine a quiet room where shadows dance softly on ancient stone. In the heart of London, within the British Museum, there lies a fragment of history that changed our understanding of the world. It is the Rosetta Stone, a key to a forgotten civilization, a bridge to a time when pharaohs ruled the Nile and gods walked among men. The story begins not in a museum, but in the sands of Egypt, near the town of El Rashid, or Rosetta, as Europeans called it. It was the summer of 1799, and Napoleon Bonaparte's army was campaigning in Egypt. As soldiers dug foundations for a fort, they unearthed a slab of black granodiorite covered in writing. It was about 4 feet tall, 2.5 feet wide, and nearly a foot thick. At first, it seemed just a piece of rubble, but soon its importance became clear. The stone was inscribed with 3 scripts, Greek at the bottom, Demotic in the middle, and hieroglyphs at the top. The Greek was easily read. It was a decree from 196 BC, honoring King Ptolemy V. The Demotic was a cursive script used for everyday writing, but the hieroglyphs, the sacred carvings of ancient Egypt, had been a mystery for over 1,000 years. Since the 4th century AD, when the last hieroglyphic inscription was made, the knowledge of how to read them had faded, lost to time. Scholars across Europe were captivated. Here was a chance to unlock the secrets of the pharaohs. Copies of the inscriptions were made and sent to learned societies. The race to decipher the hieroglyphs began. An Englishman, Thomas Young, made early strides by identifying some phonetic characters, but it was a Frenchman, Jean-François Champollion, who dedicated his life to the puzzle. Champollion, a brilliant linguist, studied the stone for years. He compared the names in Greek and hieroglyphs, noting how royal names were enclosed in cartouches, oval rings. He identified the names of Ptolemy and Cleopatra, and from there he built a system. In 1822, he presented his findings, showing that hieroglyphs were not just picture symbols, but a complex system of phonetic and ideographic signs. It was a breakthrough that echoed through history. With the Rosetta Stone as his guide, Champollion unlocked the language of ancient Egypt. Suddenly, The texts on temples, tombs, and papyri could be read. We learned about the lives of pharaohs, the rituals of priests, the daily routines of farmers, and the grand myths of gods like Osiris, Isis, and Ra. It was as if a door had been opened to a world long thought lost. The stone itself tells a specific story. It is a decree issued by a council of priests in Memphis, affirming the divine cult of King Ptolemy V. It lists his good deeds, such as tax reductions and temple repairs, and orders that the decree be inscribed in stone in 3 scripts. This was a common practice in Ptolemaic Egypt, but this particular stone became the key. Today, the Rosetta Stone is one of the most visited objects in the British Museum. People from all over the world stand before it, marveling at its power. It has become a symbol of decipherment, of unlocking secrets. But beyond its fame, it reminds us that knowledge is fragile and that even the greatest civilizations can become silent, waiting for someone to listen. As you rest now, think of the Rosetta Stone not as a cold artifact, but as a story waiting to be told. It connects us to a world of sun and sand, of pyramids and papyrus, where every symbol held a meaning. And in your dreams, perhaps you might wander through the halls of an ancient temple, seeing the hieroglyphs come alive, whispering their secrets to the night. So let the gentle rhythm of this tale carry you to sleep, knowing that some mysteries are meant to be solved, and that the past is never truly gone. It lives on in stones like this, waiting for a curious mind to discover it. Good night, and may your dreams be filled with the echoes of ancient Egypt. Imagine a world where the sun sails over the ancient city of Babylon, casting long shadows across the mud brick walls and the winding streets. The air is warm, carrying the scent of date palms and the distant murmur of the Euphrates River. In the heart of this city, under the vast canopy of stars, stands a towering stone stele, black as the night sky. It is the Code of Hammurabi, a set of laws etched into stone by the king of Babylon nearly 4,000 years ago. This is not a tale of harsh punishments or stern decrees. It is a story of order, of a people seeking fairness in a world that could be as unpredictable as the desert wind. King Hammurabi, a ruler known for his wisdom, gathered the customs and judgments of his time and carved them into this pillar. He placed it in the temple of Marduk, the city's patron god, so that all could see and know what was right. The laws were written in the ancient cuneiform script, a language of wedge-shaped marks pressed into clay, but here they were chiseled into diorite, a hard, dark stone that would endure the ages. As you close your eyes and listen, picture the scene: a quiet night in Babylon, the stars twinkling like distant fires. The stele stands tall, its top adorned with a carving of Hammurabi receiving the laws from Shamash, the sun god. Shamash sits on a throne, his rays of light streaming down, symbolizing justice and truth. The king stands with his hand raised, receiving this sacred trust. Below, the columns of text flow like a river of words, each one a promise of balance in a chaotic world. There are laws about trade, about farming, about family. If a builder constructs a house that collapses, he must rebuild it. If a physician heals a patient, he is paid a fair fee. If a woman is wronged, she has a voice. These laws were not just rules, they were a shield against the darkness of injustice. But listen closely. The Code of Hammurabi is also a story of compassion. It speaks of the widow, the orphan, the poor. One law says that if a man owes a debt and cannot pay, his family shall not be enslaved forever. They must be freed after 3 years. Another protects a wife from being cast out without cause. These are not cold, lifeless commandments. They are the heartbeat of a civilization that dreamed of fairness, even in a world where life was often short and hard. As the night deepens, imagine a scribe walking by the stele, his lamp flickering. He pauses to read a line, perhaps the one that says, "If a man put out the eye of another man, his eye shall be put out." This is the famous eye for an eye, but it was not about revenge. It was about proportion, ensuring the punishment fit the crime, no more, no less. It was a way to stop blood feuds that could tear apart families and villages. The stele was a teacher, a guide, a silent guardian watching over the city as it slept. Today, the original stele rests in the Louvre Museum in Paris, far from the banks of the Euphrates. But its spirit still whispers to us. It reminds us that every society, no matter how ancient, yearns for order, for a code to live by. As you drift towards sleep, let the image of that black stone, glowing softly in the moonlight, calm your mind. The laws are not harsh. They are the gentle hand of a king who tried to bring light to a world of shadows. And in the quiet of the night, that light still shines. Long, long ago, in a land where the sun blazed hot and the rivers whispered secrets, there was a king named Gilgamesh. He ruled the city of Uruk, a place of towering walls and bustling markets, but his heart was restless. Gilgamesh was strong and proud, a hero among mortals, yet he knew not the peace of a gentle night. So the people, wise and weary, whispered a lullaby, not to soothe a child, but to calm the storm within their king. This is the Epic of Gilgamesh, a story as old as the clay tablets that hold it, a lullaby for the soul. In the beginning, Gilgamesh was 2/3 god and 1/3 human, a mixture that made him mighty but also lonely. He wrestled lions, built great walls, and challenged all who crossed his path. But his people, the farmers and weavers of Uruk, grew tired of his endless contests. They prayed to the sky gods, and the gods listened. From the wild plains they sent Enkidu, a man who knew no city, no home, only the deer and the rivers. Enkidu was Gilgamesh's mirror, his equal, his friend. When they met, they fought like raging bulls, but in the struggle, they found a bond deeper than any battle. They embraced, and the lullaby of their friendship began. Together, Gilgamesh and Enkidu journeyed to the cedar forest, where the fearsome Humbaba guarded the trees. The forest was dark and ancient, filled with the scent of resin and the hum of insects. Humbaba's voice was like thunder, but the two friends stood side by side, their hearts beating as one. With the help of the sun god Shamus, they defeated the giant, and the forest fell silent. But the lullaby grew quiet, for Enkidu was wounded in spirit. The gods, angered by their pride, sent a sickness to Enkidu, and he lay in Gilgamesh's arms, his breath fading like a breeze at dusk. Gilgamesh wept, a king who had never known tears, and the lullaby became a lament. After Enkidu's death, Gilgamesh could not sleep. He wandered the earth, his heart a hollow drum. He sought the secret of eternal life, a way to escape the fate that had taken his friend. He traveled to the edge of the world, where the scorpion men guarded the path of the sun. He passed through a mountain of darkness, where no stars shone, and came at last to the garden of the gods. There he met Siduri, the wise woman who brewed wine and spoke in riddles. She told him, "The life you seek, you will never find. Fill your belly with good things, dance with your children, and let your wife be happy in your arms." But Gilgamesh could not hear her lullaby, for his grief was too loud. He found the boatman Urshanabi, who ferried him across the waters of death to the home of Utnapishtim, the only mortal granted immortality. Utnapishtim told the tale of the Great Flood, how the gods had sent a deluge to wash away the noise of humanity, and how he had built a boat to save his family and the seeds of all living things. The flood had been a terrible lullaby, a song of destruction that gave way to a new dawn. Utnapishtim offered Gilgamesh a test: "Stay awake for 7 days, and you shall have eternal life." But Gilgamesh, exhausted from his journey, fell asleep the moment he sat down. Utnapishtim's wife baked a loaf of bread each day, and when Gilgamesh woke, he saw 7 loaves, one for each day of his slumber. He had failed, but he had learned. As Gilgamesh returned to Uruk, weary and changed, he looked upon the walls he had built. They were strong and enduring, but they were not eternal. He realized that true immortality is not in living forever, but in the stories we leave behind. The lullaby of his life would be sung by generations, a soft melody of love, loss, and the quiet acceptance of our mortal days. So he carved his tale into tablets of stone, and the river of time carried it to you here, in this quiet moment. Let the words of Gilgamesh be your lullaby now, a gentle reminder that even the mightiest kings find peace in the arms of night. Sleep, dear listener, and dream of ancient walls and endless skies. Close your eyes and let the warm dust of ages settle gently around you. We are going to travel back, not in a hurry, but as if drifting on a slow Nile current, to a place where stone dreams in the sunlight. This is the Temple of Karnak, the Pillars of Dreams. Imagine a vast open sky, pale blue and hazy with heat. The air carries the scent of dry earth, of ancient river mud, and of wild mint growing along the water's edge. Before you rises a forest of stone, not living trees, but carved sandstone columns, taller than any roof you have ever known. They stand in long, quiet rows, like the reeds of some primordial marsh that have turned to rock in the stillness of millennia. Let us walk slowly, as if through a meadow of shadows and light. The ground beneath our feet is a mosaic of broken tiles and worn flagstones, smoothed by the prayers and footsteps of countless generations. Everywhere, the walls are covered in faint carvings, hieroglyphs that look like tiny birds and eyes, coiled serpents and open lotus blossoms. They are not shouting for attention, they simply rest there, whispering secrets to the sun and the moon. This is Karnak, not a single temple, but a living, sprawling city of sacred spaces built over 2,000 years. Each pharaoh added his own court, his own towering gateway, his own carved obelisk, like a child adding shells to an endless sandcastle. And yet, despite all that ambition, there is a profound calm here. The noise of history has faded, and what remains is a gentle, colossal silence. Walk with me through the great hypostyle hall, the most famous of all. Stand still for a moment. Breathe. 134 pillars rise around you, each one wider than a great oak trunk, and their tops branch into carved papyrus buds, as if the ancient architects wanted to bring a stone marsh into the heart of the temple. The shafts are covered in raised reliefs, images of kings kneeling before gods, processions of barks carrying sacred statues, and the long, repetitive gestures of ritual. The light filters through the narrow, clerestory windows, casting stripes of gold and ochre across the floor. In this haze of suspended dust, the pillars seem to sway slowly, like reeds in a forgotten wind, and the air hums with a very low, deep note, as if the entire stone grove is dreaming harmoniously. Now let your eyes drift upward to where the shadows gather. There on the ceiling are faint traces of blue paint and faded stars, a night sky painted in the middle of the day. The Egyptians believed that this hall was the place where the world was born, where the primeval mound rose from the waters of chaos. Every pillar is a symbol of that first moment of creation. To stand here is to stand at the very beginning of time, before worry, before hurry, before the noise of the outer world. And beyond the hall, there are smaller sanctuaries, quieter courtyards. One of them holds a single sacred lake, a broad mirror of dark water surrounded by stone steps. If you sit at the edge, you can watch your reflection blend with the sky. Dragonflies skim across the surface, making tiny ripples that shimmer in the amber light. It is said that the priests would perform their purifications here, washing themselves in the stillness before approaching the Holy of Holies. The water is calm, secrets deep and untroubled, as if it remembers every late afternoon when the setting sun turned the temple into a silhouette of gold. The largest obelisk here once stood over 30 meters tall, a single finger of pink granite gleaming with electrum and gold. Today it lies broken, but even in its fallen form, it speaks of patience and grandeur. It does not mourn its collapse. Instead, it rests beside a small mound of earth, covered in lichen, and allows small lizards to dart across its sun-warmed surface. Everything here has learned to wait, to dream, to be patient with the turning of the sky. As the light fades from turquoise to rose, the pillars of Karnak grow softer, their edges losing their sharpness. The shadows lengthen and join hands. A cool breeze rises from the river, carrying the bark of a distant dog, the call of a night bird. The sandstone, so warm during the day, begins to relinquish its heat to the deepening violet sky. It is time to leave, but we are not leaving a place, we are leaving a presence. The Temple of Karnak does not ask for belief, only for quietness. It is a place where dreams become pillars, and pillars are the roots of dreams. So let your mind stand among those columns for a little longer. Feel your breath slow, your shoulders soften, your thoughts turning as gently as the current. The ancient stones are still standing, and they will keep your dreams safe. When you open your eyes, the temple will remain, a silent shelter in the landscape of your memory. Good night, traveler. Sleep well beneath the papyrus columns and the fading stars. Close your eyes and let the sands of time gently carry you back to a land of golden sunsets and ancient mysteries. Imagine a vast, silent desert under star-filled sky where the air is cool and still. In the distance, a shape emerges from the dunes, a creature of stone and legend, half lion, half human, with eyes that have gazed upon the heavens for thousands of years. This is the great Sphinx of Giza, guardian of the horizon, and keeper of a riddle that has echoed through the ages. Long ago, when the pyramids were still young and the Nile flowed with stories, the Sphinx was not merely a statue. In the tales of the ancient Greeks, she was a creature with the body of a lion, the wings of an eagle, and the face of a woman. She was sent by the gods to test the people of Thebes, a city of great ambition and hidden sorrow. And she would ask every traveler a single, puzzling question, a riddle that held the key to life and death. The riddle was simple in its words, but deep in its meaning. What creature walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs at noon, and 3 legs in the evening? Those who could not answer were met with a fate as silent as the desert itself. Many tried, many failed, and the Sphinx remained, a quiet enigma against the burning sun. But the riddle was not meant to be a trap. It was a mirror, reflecting the journey of every human soul. Think of the morning of life, when we are small and helpless, crawling on hands and knees, exploring the world with innocent wonder. Then comes the noon of life, when we stand tall on 2 feet, strong and confident, walking our own paths. And finally, the evening, when we lean on a staff, a 3rd leg, as we carry the wisdom of years. The answer is man or human, a creature that changes with the sun from dawn to dusk. When Oedipus, a traveler with a troubled heart, heard the riddle, he did not fear it. He listened to the wind, to the whispers of his own soul, and he saw the truth. He answered calmly, and the Sphinx, knowing her purpose was fulfilled, dissolved into the sand, leaving only the stone statue we know today. Or so the story goes. But the real Sphinx, the one that still sits on the Giza plateau, has a different tale. It was carved from a single ridge of limestone thousands of years ago, its face perhaps that of Pharaoh Khafu, watching over his pyramid. It has seen empires rise and fall, heard the prayers of priests, and felt the silent footsteps of countless generations. The riddle of the Sphinx is not just a question, it is a meditation on the cycles of life. Every morning, the sun rises, and we are born anew. Every noon, we are at our peak. Every evening, we grow old, and we lean on the wisdom we have gathered. As you drift deeper into sleep, imagine standing before the Sphinx at twilight. The desert is quiet, save for the soft whisper of the wind. The sky above is a deep violet, and the stars begin to blink awake. The Sphinx does not move, but its eyes seem to hold the light of 1,000 sunsets. You feel a sense of peace, as if the riddle has already been answered within you. You are part of this ancient story, a traveler on a long journey, but you are not alone. The Sphinx is a silent companion, a reminder that every phase of life has its own beauty. And so, as the night deepens, let the riddle stay with you like a gentle lullaby. You are the child of the morning, the adult of the noon, the elder of the evening. And you are also the dreamer, resting now, safe and warm. The Sphinx will keep watch, its riddle forever a mystery and a truth. Sleep, dear one, sleep. Imagine, if you will, a land where the sea meets the sky, where the wind carries whispers of heroes and gods. This is the ancient city of Troy, a place that exists as much in legend as in stone. In the moonlight, its walls gleam like old silver, and the air is thick with the scent of wild thyme and distant salt. Here, beneath a canopy of stars, the stories of the past drift like fallen leaves. Long before the Greeks sailed their black ships across the Aegean, Troy was a thriving city of power and mystery. Its foundations were laid on a hill near the Dardanelles, a gateway between continents. The people who built it called it Wilusa, but the poets sang of Troia, a city blessed by the gods and cursed by fate. In the quiet of night, you can almost hear the echoes of their voices, the laughter of children in the dusty streets, the clatter of looms in the women's quarters, the solemn chants of priests in the temple of Athene. Troy's most famous legend begins with a prince and a love that sparked a war. Paris, son of King Priam, was asked to judge which goddess was fairest, Hera, Athene, or Aphrodite. Each offered him a bribe, power, wisdom, or the most beautiful woman in the world. He chose Aphrodite's gift, and so he sailed to Sparta to claim Helen, wife of King Menelaus. Whether she went willingly or was taken, legend tells that her departure lit a fire that burned for 10 years. But in the moonlight, the war seems distant, like a dream half-remembered. Instead, picture the city as it was before the siege, its great gates carved with scenes of lions and bulls, its palaces adorned with frescoes of dolphins and lilies. The Trojans were not barbarians, but a sophisticated people, trading with Egypt and the Hittites, honoring gods with elaborate rituals. Their king, Priam, was old and wise, his queen, Hecuba, haunted by prophecies of fire. Their son Hector, the city's greatest warrior, was also a tender father, who held his infant son close before riding out to battle. And then there was the horse. The Greeks, unable to breach Troy's walls for nearly a decade, built a massive wooden horse as a trick. They hid soldiers inside, then pretended to sail away. The Trojans, thinking it an offering to Athene, brought it inside their gates. That night, while the city slept in celebration, the Greek warriors crept out and opened the gates to their returning fleet. Troy fell in a blaze of destruction, its towers crumbling, its people slain or enslaved. The moon that night must have turned red with smoke. But legend says that some escaped. Aeneas, a prince of Troy, fled with his father and son, carrying the household gods to a new land. His journey would eventually lead to the founding of Rome, linking Troy to the birth of a mighty empire. So the city's death became the seed of something new. For centuries, Troy was thought to be only a myth, a story told by Homer in the Iliad. Yet in the 19th century, a German archaeologist named Heinrich Schliemann, driven by a childhood dream, dug into a hill in northwestern Turkey called Hisarlik. He found not one city, but 9 layers of cities, built one atop another over thousands of years. The level he believed was Homer's Troy showed signs of violent destruction and fire. Among the ruins, he discovered a cache of gold and silver treasures, diadems, earrings, and goblets, which he called Priam's treasure. Though modern scholars debate whether this was the true Troy of legend, the discovery proved that a great Bronze Age city once stood there, a place that inspired the greatest story ever told. Today, the site of Troy is a peaceful, grassy hill. Visitors walk among the ancient stones, their feet brushing over the dust of centuries. In the moonlight, the ruins take on ethereal beauty. The walls, some rebuilt by Romans and Greeks, seem to breathe softly. The wind rustles through wildflowers, and the distant sound of waves reminds you that this was once a bustling harbor. It is a place that invites reflection on time, memory, and the power of stories. As you drift towards sleep, let your mind wander through those moonlit ruins. Imagine the ghosts of Trojans and Greeks walking side by side, their quarrels forgotten, their voices now a gentle murmur. The city of Troy is no longer a battlefield, but a monument to human dreams, of love, of honor, of sorrow, and of hope. And in the quiet of the night, its legends remain, as soft as starlight, as deep as the sea. Imagine, if you will, a land of deep canyons and endless skies, where the earth itself holds secrets carved in stone. High upon the cliffs of the American Southwest, there are dwellings that seem to grow from the rock itself, as if the mountain dreamed them into being. These are the homes of the ancestral Pueblones, once called the Anasazi, a people who lived here 1,000 years ago and more. The air is still and warm, carrying the scent of juniper and sun-baked sandstone. If you close your eyes, you might hear the whisper of wind through narrow passageways, the distant call of a raven, or the soft rustle of a prayer feather tied to a beam. The Anasazi did not leave behind written words, but they left their story in stone. Their homes are tucked into alcoves high above the canyon floor, sheltered from rain and sun, as if they sought to live between earth and sky. These cliff dwellings are not just buildings, they are villages, complete with round kivas for ceremonies, tiny storage rooms for maize and beans, and windows that frame the stars. The stone walls fit together without mortar, each piece chosen with care, like a puzzle made by patient hands. The rooms are small, but they hold the memory of families who gathered around fires, who ground corn on metates, who wove baskets so tight they could hold water. But why did they build so high? The cliffs offered protection from enemies and the elements, but perhaps there was also a deeper reason. The Anasazi watched the sun travel across the sky, marking the solstices and equinoxes with petroglyphs carved into the rock. They followed the cycles of the moon and the seasons, planting when the first rain came, harvesting when the leaves turned gold. Their homes faced south to catch the winter sun, and their kivas were built as portals to the underworld, where spirits might rise through a small hole in the floor. As you walk through these ancient rooms, you might feel a sense of peace, as if time itself has slowed. The walls are cool to the touch, and the light that filters through the openings is soft and golden. In some places, you can still see the blackened ceiling from centuries of fires, the soot a silent record of meals shared and stories told. The Anasazi did not have metal tools, but they shaped sandstone with harder stones, they wove yucca fibers into sandals, and they climbed the cliffs with the grace of mountain goats. Then, around the year 1300, they vanished from these cliff dwellings. No one knows exactly why. Perhaps a long drought dried up their springs, or the soil grew tired of feeding them. Perhaps they moved south to the Rio Grande, where their descendants live today. But they left behind their homes, their pottery, their sacred kivas, and the whispers of their prayers. Today, the cliff dwellings stand silent, but they are not empty. The wind still moves through the rooms, carrying the scent of rain on dry earth. The stars still rise above the canyon walls, and the moon still silvering the stone. The Anasazi are gone, but their mystery remains, a gentle reminder that we are all part of a story that began long before us and will continue long after. So as you rest here in the quiet of this ancient place, let your thoughts drift like the clouds over the mesa. Let the stone walls hold you and the silence speak of centuries. The Anasazi built their homes with care, and they left them to the sky and the sun, as if they knew that someday others would come to wonder and to find peace in the stillness. And that peace is here, waiting for you, as the canyon dreams on beneath the stars. Imagine a time long before the written word, before the first cities rose from the dust, when the world was vast and wild, and the nights were deep and full of stars. Deep in the limestone hills of southwestern France, a place that would one day be called Lascaux, a group of prehistoric people gathered at the mouth of a cave. They carried small lamps made of stone, filled with animal fat, their flames flickering like tiny, captured suns. Inside, the cave stretched into darkness, a silent cathedral of stone, its walls smooth and cool to the touch. These ancient artists, who lived over 17,000 years ago, came here not to shelter but to dream. They brought with them pigments ground from the earth, ochre for reds and yellows, charcoal for blacks, and manganese for deep, mysterious browns. Using brushes made from twigs and moss, or perhaps just their own fingers, they began to paint. The images they left behind are not simple drawings. They are a living gallery of the spirit world, a frozen moment of the Paleolithic imagination. On the walls of Lascaux, you can see great bulls, their horns sweeping back, their bodies massive and powerful, as if they are charging out of the stone itself. There are horses, graceful and alert, their manes as flowing as the wind. And there are stags, with antlers like the branches of ancient trees, swimming across a river of rock. The artists did not just paint what they saw, they painted what they felt. The animals seemed to move, to breathe, their eyes alive with an ancient intelligence. The cave is not a flat surface, it is a living landscape, and the artists used the curves and bumps of the rock to give their animals depth and volume. A bulge in the wall becomes a horse's shoulder, a crevice becomes the line of a bull's spine. They painted with a sense of awe, perhaps as a ritual to ensure a successful hunt, or to honor the spirits of the animals they depended on. But there is something more. There are strange, abstract signs, dots, lines, and geometric patterns that we cannot fully understand. Perhaps they were maps of the stars, or markers of seasons, or a form of early writing. Or maybe they were simply the patterns the artists saw when they closed their eyes in the firelight, the flickering images between waking and sleep. The cave itself is a kind of sleep, a place where the outside world fades away. The air is still, the temperature constant, the silence profound. As you walk deeper into the cave, the only sound is your own breath and the soft drip of water from the stalactites above. The paintings seem to emerge from the rock, as if they have always been there, waiting for the light to reveal them. The artists used the natural contours of the cave to create a sense of motion. In the famous Hall of the Bulls, a herd of animals charges across the ceiling, their bodies overlapping, their hooves barely touching the ground. It is a scene of chaos and energy, but it is frozen in time, a silent stampede that will never end. The pigments have lasted for thousands of years because the cave's environment is perfectly stable. The temperature is around 50 degrees Fahrenheit and the humidity is high, protecting the paintings from the elements. The artists knew this, perhaps, or they simply chose this place because it felt sacred. The Lascaux Cave is a dream made real, a testament to the human need to create, to express, to connect with something greater than ourselves. As you lie here ready to rest, let your mind drift into that cave. Imagine the warm glow of the lamps, the smell of earth and soot, the touch of the cool stone beneath your fingertips. The animals are there, watching you, silent and eternal. They are not threatening, they are guardians, keepers of ancient stories. And as you close your eyes, you can almost hear the echoes of the artists' voices, low and rhythmic, telling tales of the hunt, the stars, and the spirits that lived in the shadows. The cave is a womb of art, a place where the first dreams of humanity were painted on the walls of the world. And now those dreams are yours to see, to feel, and to carry with you into the quiet night. Let the slow, steady rhythm of the cave's silence wrap around you, like a soft blanket of stone and time. Sleep well and dream of the ancient bulls, the graceful horses, and the endless dance of life under the stars. Long before the sun set on the circles of stone, when the land was still young and the rivers ran clear under the stars, there lived a druid named Aelric. He was not the leader of his people, nor the keeper of the great oak grove, but he was a listener, one who walked the paths between the worlds, hearing the whispers of the earth and the sky. Each evening, as the golden light faded into violet, he would make his way to the standing stones, where the wind carried the scent of wild thyme and the distant sea. The stones were old, older than memory, older than the oaks themselves. They stood in a perfect circle, grey and patient, like the bones of the earth rising to greet the heavens, and Aelric knew that they were not placed by chance. They were a song, a prayer, a map of the turning year. On this particular eve, the moon was waxing, and the sky was clear as a shallow stream. Aelric sat on the soft grass at the center of the circle, his cloak drawn around him, his staff resting beside him. He closed his eyes and felt the pulse of the land, the slow, steady heartbeat of the chalk beneath the turf, the cool breath of the stones, the distant hum of the stars. He had come here many times, but tonight was different. Tonight, he was to be given a vision. The elders had spoken of a time when the circle would need to be renewed, its alignment restored, its spirit awakened. And Aelric, the listener, was chosen to hear the answer. He began to chant softly in a tongue older than the stones. The words rose like mist, curling around the megaliths, brushing against the lintels. The air grew still, and the sounds of the night, the rustle of a fox, the call of an owl faded into silence. Then, from the depths of the earth, a sound answered. It was not a voice, but a vibration, a deep resonance that traveled through the soles of his feet and up into his chest. The stones began to glow faintly, with a light that was not of the moon nor the sun. It was a light that came from within, from the memory of the stars that had watched over this place for millennia. In the vision, Aelric saw the builders. They were not like the people of his time. They were taller, their faces lined with the wisdom of ages, their hands calloused by the work of raising the great stones. He saw them drag the blue stones from the faraway mountains, rolling them on logs, singing as they moved. He saw them shape the lintels, fitting them with such precision that not even a blade of grass could slip between. And he saw them stand in this very circle on the morning of the summer solstice, as the sun rose exactly framed by the largest stone. They wept, for they knew that the circle would outlast them. that it would be a beacon for all who sought the turning of the seasons. Eric opened his eyes, and the tears were on his own cheeks. He understood now. The circle was not a temple, nor a tomb, nor a calendar. It was a reminder that the earth and the sky are one, that the dance of the sun and the moon is the same dance that moves in the blood of every living thing. He stood slowly, his joints aching with the cold, and walked to the east-facing stone. He placed his palm upon its surface, rough and lichen-covered, and whispered a promise. He would teach the people to honor the circle, to keep the solstice fires, to plant the sacred groves. And he would tell the story of the stones so that the song would never be forgotten. The night deepened, and the stars wheeled overhead. Eric stayed until the first light of dawn, watching the sky turn from black to deep blue to pink and gold. As the sun crested the horizon, the stones cast long shadows across the grass, and the circle was filled with a gentle warmth. He knew that the vision was true, the circle was alive, and it would speak to all who listened with their hearts. He gathered his staff and walked back to the village, the dew wet on his feet, the song of the stones still echoing in his soul. And that night, by the fire, he told the tale to the children, who sat wide-eyed and silent, feeling the wonder of the ancient circle in their bones. And so the story passed from generation to generation, carried on the wind, embedded in the chalk, alive in the memory of the land. And if you ever sit within the circle on a quiet evening, with no one else around, and you close your eyes and listen, you might just hear the faint resonance of Eric's chant, and the whisper of the builders, and the ancient, patient love of the stones themselves. For they are not just stones, they are a story waiting to be told. Beneath the warm, golden light of the Mediterranean sun, on the island of Crete, there lies a place where time itself seems to slow and soften, the Palace of Knossos. It is not a palace of sharp edges or cold stone, but a place of winding corridors, sunlit courtyards, and walls painted with the colors of the sea and sky. Here, the air is filled with the scent of olive trees and wild thyme, and the distant sound of waves lapping against the shore. Imagine walking through the great entrance, passing beneath a fresco of a charging bull, its muscles rippling with power, yet its eyes somehow calm, as if it knows it is part of a dream. The stones beneath your feet are worn smooth by centuries of footsteps, each one a whisper from the past. The palace is a labyrinth of rooms and passages built around a central courtyard where the sun pours down like honey. In the spring, the flagstones are warm to the touch, and you can almost hear the echo of laughter and music from a festival long ago. This was the home of King Minos, a ruler of legend, and of his daughter Ariadne, whose thread guided heroes through the maze. But the story that lingers most softly here is the tale of the bull leapers, young men and women who danced with danger in a ritual that was both a sport and a prayer. They did not fight the bull, they honored it. In the great courtyard, they would wait, breathing slowly as the bull was released. It would charge, head low, horns gleaming, and the leaper would run toward it, not away. At the last moment, they would grasp the horns, and with a graceful, powerful somersault, they would vault over the bull's back, landing on the sun-warmed stone with the lightness of a falling leaf. It was a dance of trust and courage, a moment of pure, silent connection between human and animal. The frescoes on the palace walls show these scenes in faded blues and reds, the figures frozen in midair, their bodies curved like bows, their faces serene. They are not afraid, they are dreaming. The palace itself feels like a dream. Its walls are painted with dolphins leaping through coral seas, with lilies bending in a breeze that no longer blows, with griffins and lions that guard the throne room. The throne room is small and intimate, with a simple stone seat where the king once sat, and around it benches for advisors. A shallow basin for purification rests nearby, its water long gone, but its shape still holding the memory of cool, clear water. The light here is soft, filtered through high windows, and the quiet is deep. Outside, the great staircase descends into the earth, its steps worn into gentle curves. As you walk down, the air grows cooler, and the sounds of the world above fade away. The walls are decorated with spirals and patterns that seem to move in the dim light. This is the heart of the labyrinth, where the Minotaur once roamed, half man, half bull, a creature of shadow and story. But here, in the quiet, the Minotaur is not a monster. He is a lonely figure, a symbol of the wildness that lives within all things, tamed by the thread of Ariadne's love. Time passes differently at Knossos. The seasons change, but the palace remains, a skeleton of stone and memory. In the winter, rain falls softly on the ancient columns, and the wind hums through the empty rooms. In the summer, the sun bakes the stones, and lizards bask on the warm walls, their stillness a kind of meditation. The palace is not a ruin. It is a sleeping giant, dreaming of the days when the bull leapers flew through the air, when the king's voice echoed in the halls, when the sea brought ships from distant lands. To walk here is to step into that dream. You can stand in the queen's quarters with its dolphin fresco and imagine her sleeping, the sound of the ocean in her ears. You can sit in the theater area where the stone steps form a gentle curve and watch the sky turn pink and gold at sunset. The world slows down. The worries of today fade, replaced by a sense of ancient peace. The Palace of Knossos is not just a place. It is a lullaby, a story told by the wind and the light, inviting you to rest, to dream, and to leap, if only in your heart, over the horns of a bull into a world of grace and wonder. Beneath the golden sun of ancient Egypt, where the river Nile winds like a silver serpent through the desert, there lies a place of profound stillness and mystery, the Valley of the Kings. For centuries, this remote, sun-scorched valley on the west bank of the Nile, opposite the great city of Thebes, served as the final resting place for the pharaohs of the New Kingdom. It was a secret, sacred necropolis hidden among the limestone cliffs, far from the eyes of the living. Here, the rulers of Egypt sought to secure their journey into the afterlife, surrounded by treasures and spells that would guide them through the dark realms beyond. And yet, despite all their precautions, the valley holds stories not only of royal glory, but of the quiet, patient work of the craftsmen, priests, and guardians who served these eternal tombs. As we wander through this valley in our imagination, let us step softly, for we are walking upon the threshold of eternity. The Valley of the Kings was chosen for its isolation. The ancient Egyptians believed that the western side of the Nile was the land of the dead, where the sun set each evening, symbolizing the end of life's journey. Here, the pharaohs of the 18th, 19th, and 20th dynasties were buried in elaborate rock-cut tombs, each one a microcosm of the underworld. The tombs were not just grave. They were intricate passageways lined with paintings and hieroglyphs that depicted the pharaoh's voyage through the Duat, the realm of the dead. These images show the sun god Ra traveling through the night, facing demons and serpents, and finally emerging reborn at dawn. The walls are alive with scenes of judgment, where the heart of the deceased is weighed against the feather of Maat, the goddess of truth. If the heart was light and pure, the soul could enter the field of reeds, a paradise of eternal peace. But if it was heavy with sin, it would be devoured by the monstrous Ammit, and the soul would cease to exist. So the tombs were filled with spells from the Book of the Dead, amulets, and offerings to ensure a favorable outcome. One of the most famous tombs is that of Tutankhamun, discovered almost intact in 1922 by Howard Carter. But the valley holds many more secrets. There are over 60 tombs, ranging from small, unfinished chambers to vast, multi-roomed complexes like that of Ramesses II or Seti I. The largest tomb, KV5, was built for the sons of Ramesses II and contains over 150 chambers. Yet despite their grandeur, the valley has a quiet, contemplative atmosphere. The hot sun beats down on the bare rock, and the only sounds are the wind and the occasional call of a desert bird. It is easy to imagine the ancient workers, stonecutters, painters, and scribes, toiling in the dim light of oil lamps, chipping away at the rock for months or even years. They lived in a nearby village called Deir el Medina, a community of artisans who were among the most skilled in Egypt. They were well cared for, but their work was dangerous. Cave-ins, accidents, and the ever-present heat made their labor a sacrifice for the pharaoh's immortality. Yet they took pride in their craft, and some even left graffiti in the tombs, recording their names and prayers. As centuries passed, The valley was plundered by tomb robbers, and many of the treasures were stolen. But the tombs themselves survived, their walls still vibrant with color. The ancient Egyptians believed that if a person's name was spoken aloud after death, they would live on in the memory of the living. So the pharaohs had their names carved into stone, hoping to be remembered forever. And indeed, we still speak their names today: Amenhotep, Hatshepsut, Thutmose, Akhenaten, Nefertiti, and the boy king Tutankhamun. Their stories have become part of our collective dream. The Valley of the Kings is not just a place of death. It is a monument to the human desire for meaning, for continuity, for a life beyond the grave. It teaches us that even in our deepest sleep, we are connected to those who came before us, and that the echoes of their hopes still whisper in the silence of the desert. So let us rest now, as the pharaohs rest, beneath the watchful stars of the ancient sky. And may our dreams be as peaceful as the valley that cradles the eternal kings. Close your eyes if you like and imagine a world not so different from our own, yet draped in the mists of time. We are in Mesopotamia, the land between the rivers, the cradle of civilization. It is around 250 BC, in the shadow of the great city of Ctesiphon. The air is warm and carries the scent of clay and date palms. The sun is low, casting long, golden shadows across the ruins of a once great workshop. Here, a clay jar, no bigger than a man's fist, rests in the dry earth, forgotten for centuries. This little jar, discovered in 1936 near the ancient city of Qujat Rabu, Iraq, has become a puzzle for historians, archaeologists, and dreamers alike. It is a simple object, a terracotta pot about 15 centimeters high, a bit like a vase for a single flower. Inside, the archaeologists found something unexpected: a tightly rolled copper sheet forming a cylinder, and at its center, an iron rod. The mouth of the jar was sealed with asphalt, and the rod was held in place by a bitumen stopper. When you look at it, you can almost feel the hands that made it: patient, skilled, curious. Now picture this: if you pour a liquid like vinegar or wine into the jar, something acidic, a gentle chemical reaction begins. The copper and iron, separated by the liquid, become the two ends of a simple battery. A small voltage is produced. It is not enough to light a modern bulb, but enough to send a tiny, shimmering current through a wire. Imagine that first spark, that faint tingle of energy captured in clay and metal, a whisper of electricity from the ancient world. What was it for? No one knows for sure. Some say it was used for electroplating, coating a metal statue with a thin layer of gold or silver. In the quiet of a temple workshop, a priest might have placed a copper figurine in a bath of gold salt, connected it to the jar, and watched as a layer of gold slowly, silently bloomed across its surface. The result would have seemed like a miracle, a touch of the divine. Others believe it was a healing device. A person feeling unwell might have held the two wires, feeling a gentle, tingling sensation, a kind of ancient therapy. Perhaps it was used for pain or to stir the humors of the body. The feeling would have been strange, new, and perhaps reassuring in a world full of mystery. And then there are those who wonder if it was a sacred object, used in rituals to create a sense of awe. Imagine a temple at dusk, incense smoke curling upward, the soft murmur of prayers, and then a priest touches two metal rods to a small clay jar. A faint glow, no brighter than a firefly, pulses in the dim light. The worshippers gasp. They see the presence of a god in that tiny, flickering light. But here is the gentle truth, the one that settles like dust on a museum shelf. We may never truly know. The Baghdad Battery, as it is called, is a solitary find. No instructions, no drawings, no texts describing it have survived. It is a single note in a symphony we cannot hear. It reminds us that the past is not a simple story, but a collection of whispers, fragments, and possibilities. Perhaps the most magical thing about this little jar is not whether it worked, but that it invites us to wonder. It asks us to imagine the people who lived before us, their ingenuity, their curiosity, their quiet experiments. They were not so different from us. They too looked at the world and asked, "What if?" So as you drift towards sleep, think of that small clay jar, sitting in the sun-warmed earth, holding a secret. Think of the copper and iron, waiting for a drop of vinegar to awaken them. Think of the gentle spark, a tiny star born in the hands of a craftsman 2,000 years ago, and let the mystery carry you into peaceful dreams. Let us journey back, far back to a time when the stars were not just points of light in the sky, but living stories, painted across the heavens by the hands of gods and pharaohs. We find ourselves in the heart of ancient Egypt, in the temple of Hathor at Dendera, where a remarkable ceiling has held its quiet secrets for over 2,000 years. This is the Dendera zodiac, a celestial map carved in stone, a circular story of the night sky as the ancients knew it. Imagine the cool, dim light of the temple, the air thick with the scent of incense and thyme. High above, on the ceiling of a small chapel, a great stone disc rests about 1.5 meters across. It is not a modern map with precise lines and tiny dots. Instead, it is a living tableau, a garden of symbols and figures, all arranged in a perfect circle. At its center, the northern sky is marked by a hippopotamus goddess, her legs stretched wide, a crocodile on her back, and a lion's head at her side. This is not a monster, but a gentle guardian of the celestial pole, a constellation that never sets, always circling the center of the world. The outer ring of the zodiac is divided into 36 sections, each holding a figure or a sign. These are the decans, the 36 star groups that rise and set over the course of a year. Each decan was a spirit, a guide, a marker of time. For the ancient Egyptians, the stars were not distant and cold. They were the souls of the dead, the homes of the gods, the very calendar that told them when the Nile would flood and bring life to the land. As you drift deeper into this story, you can almost hear the soft murmur of priests, their voices low as they read the stars, predicting the seasons, marking the hours of the night. And there within this circle, we find the familiar figures of the zodiac: a ram, a bull, 2 fish, a scorpion, a lion, but they are not quite the same as the ones we know today. The Dendera zodiac blends Greek and Egyptian myth. The ram is a powerful god, the bull is a sacred animal, the fish are swimming in the waters of the Nile. The balance, Libra, is held by a figure who stands for justice and truth. Each sign is a door into a world of ancient meaning, a story of creation, of love, of the eternal struggle between light and darkness. The zodiac is not just a map of the stars, it is a map of time itself. The outer edge is marked with the months and the days, a calendar that guided the lives of everyone in the land of the pharaohs. You can see the seasons turn, the time of flooding, the time of planting, the time of harvest. The stars told them when to pray, when to celebrate, when to mourn. The Dendera zodiac is a quiet, patient clock, ticking slowly for centuries, measuring the heartbeat of a civilization. But this zodiac holds another secret. It is one of the oldest complete star maps ever found. It was carved around 50 BCE, but it contains knowledge that goes back much further. Some scholars see in its patterns a record of the precession of the equinoxes, the slow wobble of the Earth's axis that changes the position of the stars over thousands of years. The ancient priests may have watched the heavens for so long that they saw the stars shift, the seasons drift, and they carved this knowledge into stone to preserve it for all time. Today, the original zodiac rests in the Louvre Museum in Paris, far from the temple where it was born. But its story is still alive. It speaks to us of a time when the sky was a storybook, when every star had a name and a purpose. It reminds us that we are all part of a larger cycle, a great wheel of time that turns and turns and turns. As you lie here, listening, let your thoughts drift upward toward the stars. Imagine the ancient sky, so clear and deep, filled with the same constellations that the pharaohs saw. The Dendera zodiac is a bridge across the ages, a gentle reminder that the sky above is always telling a story, if only we are quiet enough to listen. Far below the silent hills of the Judean desert, where the earth drinks from an ancient spring, lies the oldest city in the world, Jericho. Its name itself sounds like a whisper, a breath held by time. For over 10,000 years, people have lived here, and yet when the sun sets and the last visitor departs, the ruins seem to let out a long, gentle sigh, a sigh that has been waiting, perhaps, for someone to listen. It is not a sad sigh, not a lament. It is the quiet exhalation of age, of a city that has seen countless dawns and dusks and has learned to rest in the arms of the night. Imagine walking through the soft, dusty lanes of this ancient mound, the tell of Jericho. Beneath your feet lie layer upon layer of human stories, like pages of a book pressed into soil. Archaeologists have dug down, past the great stone walls of the earliest city, below the mud brick settlements, all the way to the simple round huts of the first farmers. Here, long before the pyramids rose, before even the wheels of Sumer turned, people had already built a wall and a tower. A tower that still stands, 8 meters tall, with a staircase spiraling up into the dark. That tower is often called the oldest tower of the world, and when you stand beneath it, you feel as though you are standing inside a breath from the very beginning of our settled lives. The oldest sigh, though, is something more delicate. It is felt, not heard. In the wind that passes through the stones, there is a whispering rhythm, like the lungs of the earth expanding and contracting. But those who have spent quiet time amid the ruins say that the true sigh comes from the tombs of the ancestors. Around 90 centuries ago, the people of Jericho would take the skulls of their dead, lovingly cover them in plaster, and paint in the features of the living. The closed eyes, the gentle lips, the still cheeks. They would place these skulls under their floors or in their walls so that the departed might remain close to the warmth of the family hearth. Perhaps they did this because they could not bear to let go of the last sigh that escaped their loved ones at death. As if by shaping the face again, they could catch that sigh and hold it forever. When the archaeologists first uncovered these plastered faces, they were moved to silence. There was nothing macabre in their gaze, only a deep, unspeakable tenderness. Each mouth seemed to be frozen in a moment of release, a final breath offered to the open air. And now, when the desert wind moves over the ruins, it seems to gather all those ancient breaths together and release them as one long, gentle exhalation. That is the oldest sigh of Jericho. It is older than any wall, older than the tower, older than the songs of the Levites sung centuries later when Joshua and the people of Israel walked around the city and the walls fell. Even that famous story, with all its trumpets and shouts, is only a fleeting echo of this deeper, older breath. In the quiet of the evening, when the sun paints the parched earth in shades of honey and amber, the city seems to settle into an even deeper peace. The shadows spread, the palm trees sway, and the air becomes still. And then, softly, like a contented sleeper turning over, the ancient walls release their sigh. Maybe you can hear it now, wherever you are, if only you soften your ears. It is the same sigh that has been vibrating in the stones for 10 millennia, a message from our ancestors to every child who ever dreamt beside a fire. It says, simply, that all of us are visitors here, and that the earth will hold our stories with the same gentle patience. So as you drift towards sleep, let Jericho's oldest sigh carry you. Imagine lying down on that warm, ancient earth, with the stars turning overhead like slow wheels. The city is no longer a place of dust and mystery, but a cradle of eternal rest. Your breath begins to slow, matching the rhythm of the wind through the broken gates. You are part of that long story now, another heartbeat in the unbroken line of those who have loved, lived, and let out their final sigh. And rejoin the great quiet that blesses all things. Sleep then, in that gentle company. Sleep, as the tower keeps its watch, and the painted faces seem to smile in the dimness. Jericho sighs, and you fall softly into the arms of dreams. In the heart of the vast, silent desert, where the golden sands stretch endlessly toward the horizon, there lies a place of ancient dreams. This is the land of the Nubian pharaohs, a kingdom of kings who once ruled not only the banks of the Nile, but also the very shadows of time itself. Tonight, we travel softly, quietly, to that sacred ground where the pyramids rise like gentle mountains of stone, and the wind carries the whispers of 1,000-year-old sleep. Imagine the desert at twilight. The sun dips low, painting the sky in hues of amber and rose, and the air grows cool and still. The pyramids of Nubia, smaller than their Egyptian cousins, yet no less magnificent, stand in silent rows, their smooth sides catching the last rays of light. They are not the towering monuments of Giza, but humble, steep-sided sanctuaries, as if the earth itself has pushed up these gentle peaks to honor the kings who dreamed beneath them. In the distance, the Nile flows like a silver ribbon, a lifeline through the arid expanse, reflecting the stars that begin to appear one by one. This is the dream of the Nubian pharaohs, not a dream of conquest or glory, but a dream of eternity. For these rulers of the 25th dynasty, who came from the land of Kush south of Egypt, the desert was both a barrier and a gateway. They built their pyramids not in the crowded necropolises of Thebes, but here, in the open desert, where the silence is so deep you can almost hear the stones breathe. Their dream was to become one with the gods, to journey through the underworld and rise again with the sun, just as the great Ra did each morning. And so, they carved their tombs into the rock, surrounded them with chapels and offerings, and placed their names in hieroglyphs that would outlast their bodies. Let us follow the path of one such pharaoh, Taharqa, a king whose name means the one who is strong. He ruled from the city of Napata, near the fourth cataract of the Nile, and his reign was a time of great flourishing. In his dreams, he saw a pyramid that would stand for all eternity, a mountain of stone that would hold his spirit safe. He commanded his workers to quarry the granite from the distant hills, to drag the blocks across the blazing sand, to stack them with such precision that not even a blade of grass could slip between them. And when the pyramid was finished, it rose like a perfect triangle against the sky, its tip pointing to the stars that watched over the desert. But the dream did not end with the building. For the Nubian pharaohs, the pyramid was not a tomb, it was a doorway. Inside, they placed their mummies, wrapped in linen and adorned with jewelry, their faces covered by golden masks. They left spells from the Book of the Dead, painted on the walls, to guide them through the trials of the afterlife. And they filled the chambers with food, drink, and furniture, so that the king might continue his existence in the next world, just as he had in this one. The desert kept its silence, but the pharaohs believed that the gods would hear their prayers and open the gates of the sky. As the centuries passed, the desert winds buried the lower portions of the pyramids, and the sands drifted over the chapels. The names of the Nubian pharaohs faded from memory, but their dreams did not die. They linger here still, in the quiet of the dunes, in the soft light of the moon. When you stand at the site of El Kuru or Nuri, you can feel their presence, a gentle, patient presence, waiting for the stars to return. The pyramids are not massive, but they are intimate, as if they were built not for the world to see, but for the sky to embrace. Perhaps the greatest dream of all was the dream of the sun. The Nubian pharaohs believed that after death, they would join the sun god in his daily journey across the heavens. They built their pyramids to face the east, so that the rising sun would wake them each morning. And when the sun does rise over the desert, its first rays touch the tips of the pyramids, turning them to gold. The sand glows, the air shimmers, and for a moment, the ancient dream is alive again. So tonight, as you rest your head and close your eyes, let your thoughts drift to that distant desert, where the Nubian pharaohs sleep in their stone houses. They dreamed of eternity, and in a way they found it. Their pyramids still stand, their names still echo in the wind, and their dream continues, a dream of peace, of stillness, of the endless desert beneath the endless stars. Sleep now, as the ancient kings would have slept, with the desert's quiet lullaby in your ears. In the quiet of an age long before rocks and cities, when the world moved to the rhythm of the sun and the moon, there lay a river whose gentle murmur was the heartbeat of a sacred land. The Ganges, at the ancient city of Varanasi, flowed not as a torrent, but as a slow, silken ribbon of silver and blue. Even then, in the earliest days of which we have only whispers, the river was a giver of life, a keeper of stories, and a patient witness to the soft footsteps of pilgrims. Picture the scene, many centuries before the first stone was laid for the grand temples that would one day rise. The ghats were not of carved stone, but of smoothed earth and river-worn pebbles, sloping gently into the water. The air was thick with the scent of damp clay, lotus blossoms, and the faint, sweet smoke of sandalwood from small fires burning on the banks. The sun, just beginning to rise, would paint the eastern sky in hues of rose and gold, and the river would catch those colors, trembling slightly as if breathing with the earth itself. In those ancient times, the people of Varanasi, known then as Kashi, the city of light, rose with the first light. They came to the river not in haste, but in reverence. Families would gather at the water's edge, carrying brass pots filled with flowers and grains. A mother would dip her hand into the Ganges, letting the cool water slip through her fingers, whispering a prayer for her children. An old man, his beard white as the river's foam, would stand waist-deep, his eyes closed, listening to the water's steady song, a song that had been sung since the world was young. The river itself was a living presence. It was not just water, it was a goddess, a mother, a healer. Its murmur was a language of its own, a soft, continuous hush that seemed to say, be still, and know that you are part of something vast and eternal. That sound, the gentle murmur of the Ganges, was the backdrop to every life in Kashi. It accompanied the laughter of children playing with floating lamps, the quiet sobs of a widow's final farewell, and the chants of sages who sat in meditation under the shade of banyan trees. River knew the seasons. In the monsoon, it would swell and become a deeper, more powerful voice, yet still gentle, a rolling thunder that was more felt than heard. In the dry, cool winter, it would shrink, revealing sandbanks and ancient shells, and its voice would become a whisper, a secret shared only with the faithful. And in the spring, when the air was filled with the fragrance of mango blossoms, the Ganges would carry little boats made of banana leaves, each with a tiny flame, drifting toward the horizon. At night, the river was a different world. The stars would mirror themselves in its dark surface, and the only sound was the water's endless murmur, accompanied by the distant call of a peacock or the rustle of leaves in the silk cotton trees. Pilgrims would sit on the banks, their faces lit by the soft glow of oil lamps, listening to the stories told by the elders, stories of gods and heroes, of creation and destruction, all of which seemed to flow from the same source as the river itself. The ancient city of Varanasi was not a place of grand monuments then. It was a collection of modest huts, markets of woven baskets, and narrow lanes that led always to the water. The rhythm of life was tied to the river's cycle. People bathed at dawn, drew water for cooking, and washed their clothes on the flat stones. The fishermen would cast their nets at dusk, their boats silent on the dark water, and the murmur of the river would be joined by the creak of oars and the splash of a fish breaking the surface. And through it all, the Ganges murmured on. It carried the prayers of 1,000 generations, the hopes of the poor, the songs of the sadhus, and the quiet tears of those who came to say goodbye. It was a river that did not judge, did not hurry, did not change. It was the same gentle murmur that had been heard by the first sages, the same water that had touched the feet of the Buddha, the same sound that would echo through the ages. So as you rest your head tonight, imagine that ancient river. Feel its slow, steady current. Hear its soft, soothing voice, a murmur that is older than memory, yet always close, always calm. Let the Ganges of Varanasi, in the quiet of ancient times, carry you gently into the arms of sleep. Long before the modern world, the mist-shrouded highlands of what is now Colombia, there existed a legend so luminous it would draw explorers across oceans and through jungles for centuries. This is the story of the sleeping gold of El Dorado, a treasure not of greedy kings, but of sacred ritual and quiet earth. It begins not with a city paved in gold, but with a man, a lake, and a ceremony so beautiful it became a whisper that never died away. Deep within the eastern Cordillera of the Andes, the Muisca people lived in harmony with the mountains and the waters. They revered the sun, the moon, and the sacred lake of Guatavita, a perfect circle of water nestled in an ancient volcanic crater. The lake was a mirror to the sky, and to the Muisca, it was the home of the gods. Once a year, when the first rains of the wet season fell and the earth felt soft and fertile, a great ceremony would take place. The new chief, or Zipa, would be anointed not with crowns of gold, but with sticky resin, and then covered in powdered gold dust until he shone like the sun itself. He would walk to the lake's edge, step onto a raft made of reeds, and surrounded by priests bearing incense, flowers, and offerings of golden figurines, he would paddle to the center of the dark, still water. There beneath the silent gaze of the watching clouds, the golden man would dive. The gold dust would wash from his body, swirling like a quiet cloud of light in the green depths. And then, as if to seal the pact between earth and sky, the priests would throw more treasures into the lake: bracelets, nose rings, tiny golden boats, and emeralds the size of a child's thumb. They sank slowly, glinting for a moment, then settling into the soft mud at the bottom, where they would sleep for centuries. This was El Dorado, the gilded one, not a city, not a kingdom of gold, but a fleeting moment of divine offering. The gold was never meant to be found. It was given to the water, to the earth, to the spirits that dwelled in the silence. It was sleeping gold, resting in the cold, dark embrace of Lake Guatavita, guarded by time and by the stillness of the mountain air. When Spanish conquistadors heard rumors of this ceremony, their imaginations ignited. They spoke of a city of gold, of streets paved with the precious metal, of temples encrusted with emeralds. Expeditions set out, hacking through dense jungles, climbing steep ridges and suffering fever and hunger. They reached Lake Guatavita, and in the 16th and 17th centuries, they tried to drain it. They cut a notch in the crater rim, letting water spill out in a great muddy torrent. The lake's level dropped, and they found some gold along the edges, a few small pieces, glinting in the sun like forgotten tears. But the deeper treasures remained hidden, buried in sediment too deep to reach. The water refilled, and the gold slept on. Later in the 19th and early 20th centuries, more attempts were made. An English company tried to drain the lake entirely, but the mud was too thick, the equipment too primitive. They found a few more golden figures, a handful of emeralds, but the heart of the treasure, the great offering of the Golden Man, remained undisturbed. Some say the lake itself resisted, that the spirits of the Muisca guarded their gift. Others say the gold simply sank too deep, into a layer of soft silt that would swallow any attempt to retrieve it. Today, Lake Guatavita is a protected site, a place of quiet beauty. The water is dark, almost black, reflecting the sky and the surrounding hills. Tourists walk the trail around the crater, listening to the wind in the grass. The gold is still there, somewhere below, sleeping. It has become a symbol not of wealth, but of mystery, of a culture that understood that some things are not meant to be taken. The legend of El Dorado endures not because of the gold, but because of the dream it inspired, a dream of a place where the sun itself touched the earth, and where a man could become a god for a single, perfect moment. And so, as you drift towards sleep, imagine that lake under a canopy of stars. The water is still. Somewhere beneath its surface, tiny golden figures lie curled in the mud, their eyes closed, their work done. They do not wait to be found. They simply rest, cradled by the earth, as the world above spins on. The gold of El Dorado does not call out. It whispers only in the lapping of water against the shore, a lullaby from a time when the sacred was given freely, and treasure was measured not in coins, but in the depth of a dive into a dark, holy lake. Sleep now, and let that gentle water carry you.